everyone, and welcome to Cinematic Schematic, the official podcast of the Cinematropolis.com, your home to thoughtful conversations on film. I'm your host, Caleb Masters, and today we are looking up. No, it's not a bird. It's not a plane. It's a podcast about everyone's favorite alien that has crash-landed illegally into Kansas. That's right. We're reviewing Superman.
Right out of the gate.
I mean, it's in the origin. I mean, that's the story, isn't it?
That's correct.
Is that a radical statement to say he's an illegal alien?
Forged his birth certificate in all those papers.
There's actually an episode of
Smallville.
Really?
About
That's
this.
been going all over the internet recently.
Yeah. Anyway, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. We were reviewing Superman 2025 as directed and written by James Gunn, allegedly the launch of the new DC universe. We're going to start with an icebreaker question where we talk about our relationships to Superman and maybe what he means to our culture. Before jumping into a spoiler-free review of the film, we'll provide a verdict, and then we'll conclude the show with an in-depth spoiler discussion. Now, joining me today, she's taking a bullet for me here. The most professional film critic at the table, who is also the least Superman familiar, as I understand. She's a contributor at No Film School in the Final Draft. Joe Light, welcome back to the Cinematic Schematic.
I'm excited to be here. I love this movie, spoiler alert. I don't know anything about a lot of it, but I'm very excited to be here.
Yes. Love to hear that. Next up, he rejoins us again. He's the Grand Gentleman Incorporated Executive Director and Mad Dreams Cinema Executive Producer, Korey Eakers. Welcome back, sir.
Glad to be here, man. You know I love Superman, so we had to come back.
I do. After Centers, we were literally like, Superman. This is pretty rad. Are you excited? Yeah. Last but certainly not least, he is the co-founder of the Oklahoma Film Society. He's a film producer here in Oklahoma, and he is, without a doubt, at least top 5 comic-savvy people I know on the planet. Joshua Unner and him might have words, but super excited to be rejoined by Alex Palmer. Alex, welcome back, sir.
Thank you. It's good to be back. I'm actually really excited about this. I think we had a discussion a couple months ago. It's like, you're going to have me on this episode.
You and Korey both, and like 5 other people. So
I would literally had thoughts of just kicking down a door if it was 4 people in here and just barging in.
I would have it no other way. Listen, this is Superman's a very important character, and I need people who bring the comics knowledge. I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle where I've got a lot of Supes knowledge, but definitely not to the degree that you do, Alex, and I don't think you as much as you do either, Korey. So I'm kind of like a casual to the comic fans, but compared to like the average person, I probably seem like a super hardcore Superman fans. And then Joe's here to bring us an anchor. Unfortunately, LaRon Chapman could not be here today. He's busy making the movies, as they say. And I am going to be talking to him in our next episode where we'll be reviewing I Know What You Did Last Summer, the new one. But we're going to ask him about his Superman thoughts at that point in time. So stick around for that episode coming up in a couple weeks. Now, before we get into today's super review, if you wanted to super support us, you could head on over to your preferred podcast app, leave us a rating and review, give us a subscribe. A lot of folks are subscribing on YouTube now, so that's cool. Subscribe on YouTube, but most notably Apple Podcasts, Spotify, great place to support the show. I want to break the ice. I guess it's sort of a 2-part question. First and foremost, like, what exactly do we bring to What does Superman mean to us individually? Alex, go ahead and kick us off here. Tell me a little bit about your experience and perspective on Superman.
Well, like most kids, I think I kind of found Superman through like TV shows growing up. But as a comic book fan, there's kind of like a 3-tiered stage. Like where you get into comics, you like Superman. Then when you kind of really get into the comics, you kind of like stop liking him. You think he's not as complex and things of those characters. Then kind of as you become a more like older comic fan, I think you kind of come back around and kind of find there is just this interesting thing that he represents in comic books. He is like a character, but he's also like, he's a trope at this point in time. You know, I remember hearing somebody say that like when they start talking about like which character is stronger, you know, every comic book fan does that. I remember somebody saying, well, Superman's as strong as he needs to be. And I think as you get to know the character more and find out stuff, like it's such an interesting concept when you think about this farm boy whose job is to protect the planet. Like if Batman messes up, a bank gets robbed. Like if this guy messes up, planet explodes. Like, and yet that he has all this, but he's still like such a good person. I don't know. There's just something about the character that's always drawn me to him. We all kind of want to be Batman, but we hope we're Superman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's well said. Korey, what is your relationship to Superman?
So I was raised by my pops, pretty much by himself for most of my life, and I've always been a real Batman fan. Or like when I was a kid, and I'm growing up during the era of the Val Kilmer is funny. Val Kilmer is low key my Batman. Like the earliest Batman I remember is Val Kilmer for some
He
reason.
looks great in the cowl.
And yeah,
Does.
I mean, he's the one that actually looks like he can kick somebody's butt, in my opinion, from those ones. But my dad was a big Superman fan, and my dad was born in '46, so Chris Reeves and him are about the same age.
Mhm.
Really?
He's I think Chris Reeves is a few years younger.
Wow.
But they're somewhere around the same age, yeah. And my dad was growing up in the era where there weren't a whole lot of superheroes around.
Right.
You know, and so Superman has just been his guy. And it's funny, I have a picture of him before his accident wearing that exact same shirt you got on right now. And he's like flexing up for the camera. I'll show you later. But that picture means a lot to me. I remember when I was little, he would use Superman as like this measuring stick of morality. And I would do something. He was like, you know, Superman would do that, Korey. And I don't know why that just sticks out so much to me. And so again, a child of the '90s, my first love for Superman, the character, came from Superman animated series.
Great show still. Yeah.
Very much so. And so when I think of, you know, he set the standard for the superhero should be. And so it's not just the great powers, but the great morality behind it. My whole life just trying to be a good person, man, like Superman would.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So he's like inspires you to be a better person.
Yeah.
You know?
I think you're right. I think like when Batman's great, like you're like, ooh, that's cool. When Superman's great, he inspires you.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. So Joe, what is your experience with the Superman character, just in general?
I mean, I think the extent of my experience is the '78 Superman. Generally, I remember growing up with that film. It would be on TV sometimes, and I just love Christopher Reeve in that movie so much. And I think he's such a sweet and perfect Superman. Probably as good as Superman as we've ever had until I think very recently, David Cornsweet. That's pure. I love the music. I never really watched any of the cartoons. I'm not a comic book person, just for a lack of knowing even where to start, probably, and get into it.
It's a big thing.
It is.
It's a lot.
You had more friends than I did in grade school. Is what you're saying.
Well, I mean, when I was growing up, I was more like a Star Wars person, so that's where my sort of nerd home is, and it was like before Star Wars was cool, like it is now. So yeah, I think it's just a character that's always been in the background. I never really was like a DC person either. My husband loves Batman, so I've gotten into it more recently, but I think growing up I was more like a Marvel Spider-Man kind of person, especially with those Sam Raimi movies.
Oh yeah. I mean, speaking of Sam Raimi, I think we're gonna get some comparisons later in this show.
Called foreshadowing.
Oh man, it's yeah. So Superman is a I think I fell in love with Batman first. It sounds like not unlike you, Korey, or even you, Alex, to a certain extent. It's
Batman the animated series.
Batman the animated series came out first. I think I saw I think it was probably the '89 Batman movie before I saw the '78 Superman movie.
Me too.
And I think, yeah, at the time it's like, oh yeah, Batman's got all these cool gizmos, and especially as a kid, it's like the ideas for toys just seem like infinite with all the cool Batman stuff. But Superman as a character has endured with me in multiple chapters of my life. So yeah, I fell in love with Superman, the animated series, thought it was super cool. I loved following the entire DC animated universe because at a younger age, what helped me understand what makes Superman important and unique is actually the Justice League. When you put him up against these other superpowered people, it's like, well, yeah, Batman fights in the shadows. And like you said, when he wins, he stops a bank robbery or a block getting blown up or something. Superman fails, the planet's destroyed. And also Superman has to fight in broad daylight. Everyone has to see everything he's doing, just because of the sheer power that he represents. For people to trust that he's doing the right thing, he has to be highly visible. And unlike Batman, who is sort of like a symbol of fear, at least for criminals, Superman has to represent hope for everyone. So sort of like at a younger age, seeing how you put Superman and Batman and Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, like you see what all those characters bring, that makes you understand that Superman, they're not all Superman. Superman represents sort of like a morality, the best of what humans strive to be, based off of very traditional American values.
It
Now,
could be a great people, Khalil.
exactly. Exactly. I mean, so he represents the best. He's supposed to represent the best of what we think we should be. And what makes him interesting, and I think what makes for a compelling Superman story, is when you test that or you put that in a certain context where you're like, and we get into this a little bit in this movie as we'll talk about, but hey, so you're Superman, you say you stand for this, but your actions led to this thing. And he's like, well, yeah, but that wasn't necessarily the point. You know, it's seeing how everyone's a foil to him. How is Lex Luthor a foil to what Superman's game is? How is Batman's tactics differ from Superman? How does that reveal sort of a little bit of the crack in the armor of Superman, but also a crack in the armor of Batman?
Yeah.
You know, he serves as like a really great, like, you said trope. I don't know if that's the word I would use, but you know, just sort of like a barometer for where are we at as a I'm gonna say country. That feels like making, I don't want to over Americanize them, as a species, as a people. Yeah. What is it that we value, and do those values hold up under scrutiny, as represented by a lot of these other characters? So whether it's those animated series or Smallville in the early aughts, or even in the Snyder movies, we're gonna get to that later too. But what does that look like? And I don't think every version of Superman has been a success. In fact, I think there's been a lot of failures, especially on the big screen, frankly. So anytime we get a Superman movie, I'm always really eager to see what they do with it, because what the movie says and does, in my opinion, tells us a lot more about where we're at as a culture than it does about the character necessarily. And also, you know, just thinking about Man of Steel, a movie that was very dour and like morality is gray. We can't, you know, it really sort of puts in the context, hey, where's the world been the last 12 years? Not exactly the best times, you know? So, and he was our, you know, moral representation of what we thought was the right thing, which is we don't know what's right and wrong anymore, you know? So it's just interesting to see how how he has evolved throughout the decades and the medium, including TV.
Oh yeah.
Like as a follow-up, why do we think he's a quintessential pop culture figure though? I'll throw it to you, Korey.
You know, okay, so if you look at mythology in general, right? In America, we're a young country. We don't have a Zeus and we don't have a Hercules, you know, which I mean are religious figures, but also like Hercules is a part of the ancient Greek everyday mythology and storytelling. We don't have that kind of history, so we have to make it up.
Mm-hmm.
And so Superman's role as a part of American mythology is, in a way, he's kind of like our Zeus, because like he's, in terms of how we look at superheroes now and how you can go anywhere in the world and people are going to recognize that S on your chest.
Yes.
Even if they've never read a Superman comic or seen a Superman movie, they know who Superman is. They know kryptonite can hurt him. They know he's super strong and all the things, and they know that he's a good person, or he's supposed to be. So him setting the standard for what a superhero should be is my answer to your question.
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
I was a little drawn out, but sorry.
No, I like the idea though that, and this is actually, in a lot of ways, I think ties into Zack Snyder's interpretation of the character, which I think is not necessarily a bad idea, which is interpret them as modern day gods. I think he just got a little focused on the super and not the man part.
Yeah.
As we'll talk about here in a little bit. Alex, what's your take on Superman as a quintessential pop culture figure?
I think he's kind of like this ideal American character. You know, he's written by two Jewish kids from Cleveland. And the character is an immigrant, brought to this country. He's not from here. He's somebody different, but what his foreign nature is what makes him special and able to help. It's not a hindrance on him, and he uses what makes him different to help those around him. And these are all very American ideas. The idealistic American idea of like the melting pot country where everyone comes and brings their different ideas to help everybody else. So I think it fits that idea that we want for ourselves and for our modern American mythology is that.
Mm-hmm. No, I think it's a really powerful way to think about it, interpreting Superman as sort of like an American piece of American mythology that represents the story that we would like to believe we represent.
It's the story as I kind of say, the story we hope we can tell about ourselves.
Joe, from your perspective, more casual, like what is, and when you think about Superman as a pop culture figure, what does he mean to you, or why do you think he matters?
I think what I love about him is that he's from Kansas, at least raised there.
Rock Chalk Jayhawk.
Yeah. I love that he has these sort of humble beginnings, even though he's like the most powerful being on the planet. And I feel like that's very relatable. I think it tells fans that no matter where you came from, you can still do good. And I love that background is like not a detriment to him. Like as far as I know, I've never seen that portrayed as like a negative, that he came from that humble upbringing and grew up in the country and then moved to the city or anything. Is that correct?
Lois pokes at him about it, but yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, Smallville.
Yeah. But I just think it's so, I just love that aspect of his character. I just love that he's sort of this corn-fed kid that really wants to do good in the world, and I think that's very relatable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's sort of another component, I think, to what you mentioned, Alex, which is he is like, again, going back to the idea of like American mythology, like the Midwest is this is where the American ethics are at their strongest.
Mm-hmm.
These are people who have they literally work with their hands. They work in the dirt to feed other people. Like no one knows empathy and compassion and serving their community more than farmers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think the Superman character, if he didn't have the powers, he would have been perfectly happy running his parents' farm and marrying Lana Lang and all that other stuff. But then he has this great power and he has to go into the big world to help others because he knows he's got these gifts and he can't just keep them for himself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well said. Listeners, what is your take on Superman? Why does he matter to you? You can let us know by hitting us up on our social media channels on Facebook.com/Cinematropolis or on the Cinematrop on Instagram. You can also send us an email at thecinemetropolis@gmail.com. Let's get into this Superman 2025.
Superman. The most powerful being on planet Earth.
We finally meet.
Now, as planned, I'll destroy you. And of course, that reporter you always do interviews with. Who raised you as a child? I'll kill them too.
So according to IMDb, Superman is described as Superman must reconcile his alien Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing as reporter Clark Kent as the embodiment of truth, justice, and the human way. Interesting IMDb choice.
Huh?
I thought it was A Better Tomorrow. I thought they retconned to be Truth, Justice, and A Better Tomorrow, but whatever.
For those listening, the original like kind of Superman catchphrase was truth, justice, and the American way. And then a few years ago, and probably, let's be honest, like probably a shrewd capitalistic decision, they changed it to truth, justice, and America Tomorrow to give it a little more international.
Better Tomorrow.
Better Tomorrow. Yeah. To give it a more international feel. But I actually think it also works because one of Superman's nicknames is also the Man of Tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. I like it because it's more inclusive.
I like that, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's because he's representing the American way, but he's also, as we'll talk about in this movie, he does not always align himself with the American government.
I think it also it was around the time when Superman the comics relinquished his American citizenship.
Yeah, issue number 900 of Action Comics, I think, maybe.
I believe so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's like the one comic trivia I actually know is the.
I was like, you want
because Damon Lindelof wrote that one.
I was about to say, if you want to go on a battle on
oh no,
it's not going to go your way, buddy.
A few fun facts. This is the first Superman in the rebooted DC universe that is now being overseen by James Gunn and Peter Safran. It's also the first standalone Superman movie since 2013's Man of Steel, so it's been about 12 years since we've got just a Superman movie. Now, there has been Batman versus Superman. We've seen the Justice League, in which Henry Cavill Superman appears, but this is the first standalone we've gotten.
Don't forget Black Adam.
Oh, God. Yeah. Oh, man. Superman 2025 stars David Cornsweet as Clark Kent Superman, Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane, and Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. There's also a pretty robust supporting cast, and it got to be so many characters and actors I didn't think I could name them all and do them justice. But needless to say, there is a who's who of character actors from television and other films that appear in. We'll probably name drop those as they come up. Cornsweet is the sixth actor to play the last son of Krypton on the big screen after Kirk Allen, George Reeves, Christopher Reeve, Brandon Routh in Superman Returns 2006, and then Henry Cavill and the DCEU. This film is budgeted at $225 million, and it opened number one at the box office this past weekend, grossing $125 million domestically in the U.S. and $225 million worldwide. So roughly about $100 million global. So that's pretty cool.
I think it got to 120.
125.
Yeah, 125.
What did I say? It was 125. Anyway, it grossed $125 million domestically here in the U.S. and then $225 worldwide.
Oh, yeah, right. Worldwide.
Yeah. So, it did inch up. It overperformed a little more than the initial numbers. I'll be honest, and you have been talking about this for a while, Alex. I've been extremely curious about how well this movie is going to perform, and I'm a little relieved to see it performed not exceptionally better than past Superman films, but it given where we're at with superhero films, I'm actually pretty surprised, if I'm being honest.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Although if you adjust for inflation,
Man of Steel
did more.
Yeah. Anytime. That's every time you adjust for inflation.
Yeah, the economy was way better back then, bro. People could just go see movies. I know inflation. I don't know.
We live in a very different world than we did in
Inflation's
2013.
killing us.
Yeah. Well, guys, again, we're gonna probably spend the bulk of the time in spoilers, but I do want to get ask a few questions about overall thoughts on the film before we get into it, and then spoilers for folks who maybe haven't seen the film yet. So we'll just start things off. What do you think of Superman overall? What'd you like? What didn't you like? And Korey, I'll throw it to you first.
Cool, man. So overall thoughts, this movie did what it needed to do because it was so freaking fun.
Yes.
It was fun. Marvel makes a lot of mistakes. They make a lot of mistakes. Narratively speaking, it's not perfect. Some of these movies, in my opinion, kind of stink at Marvel. But for the most part, they're all at least fun.
Mm-hmm.
Even the ones that suck are fun. You brought up Black Adam earlier. I didn't have a lot of fun with Black Adam.
No one had fun in that movie.
There were some fun parts to it, but the story was so bad that it was hard to enjoy the experience. So this movie, it was fun. What else? The tone. James Gunn understood, in my opinion, what the tone and feel of this movie needed to be, but I think that was also reflected by society. So you kind of mentioned earlier what the world was like in 2013. I think his IMDb says it. It wasn't cool to be optimistic. It was corny. It was corny to be happy and smile and ask people how they're doing. That's the kind of world we were living in. Unfortunately, we know this because Brandon Routh's Superman failed as well, which, that movie was a little boring, but there were a lot of things about Superman that it got right that diehard fans should have enjoyed, but they didn't because they didn't show up to the box office like they should have. So Warner Brothers overreacts, gives us Man of Steel. That was a reflection of that time. I think now, overall, society is going in a direction where we need some hope and optimism and a Superman that smiles and asks people how they're doing and wants to save everyone and doesn't want to kill things. And, yeah. I'm sorry. I love Superman. I'm getting into it, but just to close these thoughts off, James Gunn definitely had his fingerprints all over this film in terms of his style. So much so that I kind of want him to just go ahead and do all three. Because I don't know how the passing of the torch, I don't, how different do we want them to be in between? That's what the Guardians franchise has its issues, but at least they're kind of consistent with, how they are. So
right.
The tone's consistent.
Yeah, exactly. The tone's consistent.
You can tell those are all three James Gunn movies.
Exactly. But I hate that I love one Thor movie way more than a couple others. And a little bit more consistency, but
Dark World.
But things can go wrong there. But no, James Gunn gets it, man. A quote somebody said is that, you never have to worry about what Superman's going to do because he always does the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like when you understand certain philosophies about the character, you're going to make a good film. He had 2 jobs. Make it good and show us what the rest of this universe is going to be like, and he did a great job at both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, kind of set the tone of the universe, but also like nail the character.
Yeah.
Joe, what did you think of Superman?
I loved it. I think you're exactly right about the tone. I'll say I was concerned going in. I think I said to my husband, I'm worried this is going to be silly, just based on the advertising. But I was so pleasantly surprised as I was sitting there watching it. I think he walks the finest of lines between that sort of like Marvel, sarcasm and like the cynicism of what the real world is, in contrast with Superman's like hopefulness and eagerness and earnestness. And I don't know how they did that. Like I still think this could have been a disaster, and it isn't. Like with as many characters that are in it, as many big ideas as they're trying to tackle in this, like I don't know how they managed to walk that knife's edge, and it's just such a delight to watch. If there's anything I didn't like, it's kind of hard to even say. I know it's not a perfect movie, because there really aren't any, but it's really close. I think like I want to see it again and have some further thoughts, but I just had so much fun with it that I really can't say that I hated anything or didn't really like anything. Like I think that a lot of it's gonna be spoilers.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna hold
lots
up,
of spoilers.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Joe, that's a second overwhelming positive recommendation. Alex Palmer, what did you think of Superman?
I really, really liked the movie. And you're right. I think it did exactly what it needed to do. It introduced this new world in a fun and interesting way, kind of in media res, like it's been around for a while. I think it made this new kind of bright, fun universe that I think we all want to see more of. I think it nailed Clark and Lois's relationship. Those two had crazy chemistry on screen.
Yeah.
Which
bringing sexy back to superhero movies. Not
yeah.
that there was like, what they actually showed there, it was just playful
like,
chemistry.
You two calm down.
Yeah,
Gosh,
exactly.
Guys,
No.
But to be honest, that kind of goes into some parallels. Like my love, it kind of goes to parallels to the Richard Donner Superman. I think something helps a Superman when he kind of is counterculture. Because like when in the Richard Donner one, it was post Nixon. Like we were really cynical. If you even look at the way that movie opens, it's like an old film reel, and then it just goes into like the dirtiest city you've ever seen in your entire life. The first word you hear from Lois Lane is how many T's are in bloodletting. And then you just kind of see this nice guy walk in and kind of calm everything down. And like right now as the Senate, there's this kind of cynicism in the world, and this character really cuts through that. And there's a conversation in the movie between Lois and Clark about punk rock. And she was like, "You're not punk rock. You love everybody." He goes, maybe that's the real punk rock right now. And it kind of is. Everything is so doom and gloom, and
people don't trust each other. You know, we live in a world where it's the times are pretty dire in terms of human relationships, even right. So extending courtesy and empathy to someone is punk rock, maybe.
To be honest, like the idea of a character representing like a hopeful view of America in a way, or the American idea in a way that kind of is like who wouldn't be for it? Like, really,
I'm sorry. Can I just say something about that?
Yeah.
So. First of all, I think David Corenswet gave a performance.
Fantastic.
He is a new generation Superman, and he's here to stay, and he's happy to be the character. They picked the perfect guy. I want my credit because in 2022, on Twitter, it's documented. I was like, James Gunn's,
Look it up.
He's rebooting Superman. David Corenswet's the guy.
Did you get that after watching Pearl?
No, I was watching The Politician on Netflix. And
okay.
I remember looking at him like, wow, this guy looks like Clark Kent right here.
It's another miracle. Like, he's so good.
Yeah.
He is like unbelievably good.
And he's American, unlike that Brit they gave it to last time.
He's such a sweet guy, but he makes me feel a way that I haven't felt in a while, and I want to know what y'all think about this. But he kind of reminds me of how Chris Evans made me feel when I watched Captain America.
Like everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah, like, but his righteousness seems alien to everyone else, but he's just like, no, this is just how I am. This is how I feel. And I left that movie feeling like, man, I want to be a better person because this guy is such a great person. And I feel like David's Superman did that, and I haven't felt like that since. And that's what Superman is supposed to do.
I mean, when you weren't inspired to be a better person when Superman snapped Zod's neck in Man of Steel, it's just that wasn't inspiring.
What
to
about
you?
when Deadpool used a Wolverine skeleton to fight people? Did that not inspire you to be a better person?
Not at all, man. Not at all, brother.
No, I mean, I think the big three superheroes are Superman, Batman, and Spider-Man, and there's something Superman is supposed to inspire you, and Batman's kind of like us at like our worst emotions, like we want vengeance, and then Spider-Man is like kind of who we really are.
There's a
We're
scene,
just trying, but we keep messing up.
in Darwin Cook's New Frontier, where
you guys could take a break. We're going to talk about New Frontier for a bit.
New Frontier, which is a very famous comic book in the DC.
About the transition from the Golden to the Silver Age.
Yeah, there's a scene where Batman and Superman meet, and Robin meets Superman for the first time, and he like does a backflip into the scene, and he's like, you really do know him, and he's so excited to see Superman because like this means something, and I feel like kids and people, audience members, we finally have this symbol of hope that we've been missing, that DC has been missing.
Yep. Alex, any other further thoughts on this film?
No, I mean, I think the casting is fantastic. I thought Luthor was great. I thought visually the way they had Superman move, because sometimes you're having a move kind of in three-dimensional space flying, so sometimes they can look a little weird. I thought it looked great. I thought there was heftiness to kind of the action scenes. The only thing, I will say, if I'm going to throw kind of some like little criticism, movie's a little busy.
Yep.
I don't think anybody would say there's a lot happening.
It's got a lot on its mind. Lots happening real fast.
And I wanted a little more Clark Kent. I like dopey Clark Kent.
Yeah.
Like kind
I
of
think it's only in one scene.
Yeah,
actually.
just Clarking around, tripping over things. Because canonically, like in the comics, the reason he's like that is because he's so powerful that to like not destroy things around him, it actually makes him very clumsy. And so I wish we kind of got a little more Clark. I thought that was kind of like a Superman Returns. You get a lot of Brandon Routh as Clark, which I enjoy. But also know this movie had to do a lot more than just be a movie. This movie is like a restart of a major component of a major company. So I understand that there was a lot of things this movie had to do and maybe didn't have time for that. But I wish there's a little more. Yeah, I was a little busy. But those are my two criticisms. Yeah, the movie's great. It's awesome. And my nephew Oliver said it's the best.
So that's important though. What the kids say. I'm looking really closely what the kids are saying, honestly.
Kids love it.
I think I told you earlier, we took a group of 60 kids to go see it yesterday. And while we were walking out of the theater, 2 kids were arguing over who gets to be Superman. And
warms my heart.
And that's what it's all about, man.
And I think us elder nerds can sometimes get a little in the weeds about this. But at the end of the day, this is for the kids too.
Yeah.
Like if you can't make one of these movies where kids can't like it, then I don't know what you're doing.
Well, it's interesting. I love to hear that, because also a very common thing I heard a lot growing up and still to this day is Superman's boring. Superman's too powerful. He's, like there was all these complaints that I was like, no, you just my rebuttal, and I don't know if it was fair, but I was like, you just haven't seen a good Superman story is what it is, because if you think he's boring, that means you haven't seen him used well. Yeah, sure, he's super powerful, but the power isn't the power is not really the point. It's more about the power of the ideas he represents and how, like, and how I was saying earlier, how those butt up against, I don't know, like Lex Luthor, this evil capitalist who is like just hell-bent on destroying hope because he does not like to feel weak.
Well, Caleb, can I respond to that really quickly?
Yeah.
So I think people who have that viewpoint, they don't consume any Superman media at all.
That's right. That's my point.
Not even just seeing the wrong one, because Superman, the animated series, and up through Justice League, that like my generation, we grew up watching these cartoons, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
He's getting his butt kicked
all the time.
every episode.
He gets his butt kicked in this movie a lot.
Which
A
I love.
lot.
Which
Yeah.
I love.
You
Oh,
you
yeah,
have
me
to
too.
show the physical vulnerabilities as well as the emotional ones, and that was another thing James Gunn was very good at in this film.
Mhm.
But he gets his butt kicked all the time. Superman's his I don't want to say his aura, his history is so great. That's what they're referring to.
Mhm.
Like he's so great as a character and as a cultural icon. People have this perception of, oh, he never loses. If you actually take some time to
Loses all the
consume,
time.
He loses a lot.
read and watch something, he loses all the time. They're just, his reputation precedes him, I guess.
Mhm.
Sorry, I just had to say
Well,
that.
that's like the same, like kind of like lazy criticism as people that say like Lord of the Rings is just a bunch of walking. It's
Yeah,
like, okay, so you
yeah.
haven't read it, you don't know what you're talking
Mhm.
about. Like, come on.
Right. But I mean, it is a thing that I hear a lot, especially when people are like, "Oh, Batman's so cool, but Superman's boring." All the time. And I think you're right, Korey. By the way, I think usually I hear that from people who have not watched or read Superman, very much of it anyway. Well, you guys have said it all so well. Maybe I'll just add a few things. Firstly, I love this movie. I saw it once and I said I think I love it, but I need to just validate this. I saw it a second time. I love this movie.
Validate your
Why I do have some critiques, some criticisms, but the things that work for me work even better the second time, and they shine so bright that I'm like, yeah, that other stuff's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
And frankly, first and foremost, you guys have already said it, but the characterization, getting the characterization right was again probably the most important part of the assignment for this
Yep.
movie. And they nailed it. David Cornswood has already said it's amazing. James Gunn has a really strong handle about who Superman is, what he's about, why he matters as a cultural icon, which leads me to the next thing. He was able to tell a Superman story that in a lot of ways feels classic, a lot of Silver Age inspiration, but also feels very of the moment we're living in right now, which I just think is such an impressive. Yeah, I think you were saying it's like knife's edge, Joe. Like he's able to do things that I didn't know that they could do on the big screen. I also think Lex Luthor is one of the greatest villains in all of comics history that also has just not. I mean, I know Alex and I've discussed this. Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor is fine. He's
Midwestern huckster.
That's not really the version that I think is the greatest villain of all time, though. I'm talking about the evil businessman Lex Luthor who has unlimited resources.
The bald Gordon Gekko.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, but I love it because he represents the ego of humanity, whereas Superman is the aspirational figure who's saying we can be better. Lex Luthor is the one that says, I'm already the best.
Yeah.
And I can't be, and I will compromise whatever it is, I'll do whatever it takes to prove you wrong, even if it results in destroying the planet, you know? And I just find that that's such an interesting foil for Superman on a philosophical level and also from a storytelling level.
Mm-hmm.
And we haven't had a version like that on the big screen. Sorry, Kevin Spacey, I thought was a great, despite, well, what you know about him now. At the time, I was like,
Wait, what happened to Kevin Spacey?
Amazing casting choice, poorly written. And then we got the Jesse Eisenberg version in Batman vs. Superman. Man, there was so much they got right.
I had so much hope for
I
it.
did too. Oh, the guy from The Social Network, he's a tech bro. And even watching the movie, I'm like, they kind of know what they're supposed to do with Lex, kinda,
But they won't do it.
but they just massive flop in execution.
That's because Henry Cavill and Zack Snyder settled a lot of arguments about the characterizations in those movies through push-ups. Just as me and Caleb does for this podcast, right?
Lots of push-ups, right?
Oh, yeah.
Every 5 minutes, really. And so to see that character, Nicholas Hoult, come in, being able to personify that character in a way that, again, feels both very true to the classic, villainy there, but also in a very modern context. Social media is a factor, military contracts, all of these things that Lex Luthor's known for, has always been known for, set in a modern day, just really compelling to watch. So I want to give a huge kudos to that, in addition to the amazing chemistry between, Lois and Clark. And, this is going to both a strength and a weakness, but at 2 hours and 9 minutes, it's so nice that we have a nice, brisk film that moves
I know.
so fast. I've been so tired of overlong blockbusters, especially Marvel films, for quite a while, and to see a movie that just like zips without losing any of its oomph is great. In fact, it's so great and there's so much going on that I'm kind of like, one of my criticisms is also, I don't know where there's two inside of me. There's two wolves. One that wants this to also be 10 minutes longer, just so we get a little more time to flesh out some of these characters. I'm thinking specifically about the Daily Planet, or even a little bit more of the Justice Gang.
Do you not have a good grasp on Steve Lombard?
I mean, he got some good jokes in there. So this is actually one of those where I actually think an extra 10 minutes would have helped the film a little bit, which is crazy because I'm so over long superhero movies. And the other criticism I would say is that some of the CG, and I will be very vague, but specifically in the second act, you guys know what I'm talking about, probably. The second act setting, I thought a lot of the CG looked a little inconsistent.
They're kind of balloony.
Oh, yeah. Like, whereas all the stuff in Metropolis, for example, I think a lot of stuff was awesome.
There's this thing where sometimes CG, like, it seems like it lacks weight.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Well, you get so lost in the CG where I just stopped believing any of it's real. So all of a sudden now I feel like it's weightless and there's no stakes.
Yeah.
But again, didn't ruin the movie by any means. It's more of a nitpick than anything. I still think it looks better than most of the Marvel movies from the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
How would we compare this to other versions of Superman? I mean, let's just start there. And I'll just throw it off because I have to get this off my chest. A lot of people are going to come and say, and I've actually had people message me this, by the way. Zack Snyder had the best version ever. I can't believe he's not going to get to finish his thing. Fuck. I literally had people say, fuck James Gunn. I'm like, what did James Gunn do? He got hired by suits at Warner Brothers. Like,
how dare he take a job?
That's what I'm saying. And I know he didn't give Henry Cavill the role again, but I get it. Sometimes when you do a reboot, you got to reboot.
If you're going to reboot, you have to if you're going to reboot the DC universe, you have to have your own Superman.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
100%.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's critical.
Too much baggage.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Well, and that was the other thing. There was way too much baggage. And it's not, none of it's Henry Cavill's fault. I feel like him and Andrew Garfield, if they haven't sat down and had beers together talking about, man, I showed up, I did everything they said, I did it 110%, I was so good, man.
But Garfield got to kind of have that nice little going out.
That's true.
Yeah, he got that little moment.
Yeah.
So.
But Man of Steel, I just want to point out, I think it's important. I want to acknowledge that I actually really admire a lot about that movie. I would actually even go as far as to say I think it's a mostly good movie. I think the visual effects are incredible. The Hans Zimmer score, I didn't think they could do another great Superman score that wasn't the John Williams thing, and he proved me wrong. It was an incredible score.
You always tell me how much you enjoy the Ayn Rand themes.
Well, yes, that was my criticism, is that it turns out, the problem is the fatal blow to that movie is that it is, in fact, a terrible Superman movie.
Objectivism.
Yes, it's like what... Instead of Superman, Iran Man was what
Iran Man.
I had a former roommate who would call it that, and it's objectivism. It focuses way more on the super. It's like, what if Superman was a god and all of us humans were just little annoying things he had to look after, and he still kind of stepped on us a lot, because he could. It just is a fundamental misunderstanding of the character, in my opinion. That and I think that was a good lesson for me in terms of if this is the moral compass of your universe, if Pa Kent says, and you say, what should I have done, Dad? Should I have let the kids on the bus die? And he says, I don't know, maybe. You're like, oh, wow, this is not...
Was that Pa Kent or Ron Paul?
It was a big miss. So I just want to put it out there, but I want to also put out there that I think that it's actually an incredibly well-made movie that I respect a lot of. I just think it's a terrible
Enter
Superman.
the birthing matrix. It actually has one of my favorite silly superhero lines when Zod says, "Unleash the world engine." It is, I don't know why, that's so silly.
Michael Shannon was so good in that movie.
He's great.
No, he didn't phone it in at all.
No, he gave 110%.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he was so great. In fact, if they were to bring him back for some reason, it wouldn't make sense.
They did.
Well, I know, The Flash.
They did.
Yeah, unfortunately.
It didn't go well.
May I share some words on Man of Steel?
Yeah.
Some thoughts I've been sitting on.
Let's go.
For a while.
Let it out.
Listen,
now's the time.
I feel like I might be in a minority of a person who actually likes Man of Steel, likes the new Superman, likes the Christopher Reeve Superman. I like all these interpretations.
You have to choose.
Let me tell you, people online, for some reason, like they call them the Snyder cult and the Gunn cult. They beef. They're a very loud minority, but unfortunately, the minority can just be overwhelming sometime on these online spaces.
Are they minority, or are they just a bunch of monkeys typing stuff into keyboards?
So okay. obviously two different tones.
Yeah.
The chemistries are way different, which I'll touch on here in a bit. But let me say this: I think this new Superman has made me appreciate Snyder's Man of Steel even more. Let me explain why.
Okay.
Man of Steel is like this science fiction opera.
Yeah.
And Superman is like, I've been hearing this a lot, but it's like a live action comic or cartoon.
Yeah, Saturday morning cartoon, real life.
And so when you think about it, like, this Man of Steel is he wrestles with he's trying to convey so many themes. It gets bogged down with all these themes that Snyder is trying to tell you about. Should you listen to your heavenly father from Krypton or your earthly father from Kansas? And should you, all these, and then Superman's going through his depression and everything. And the themes he deals with, Gunn does not have to deal with.
Right.
Gunn is telling this story about a guy who just wants to do the right thing, even if it turns out there are some things that he's, are we in the spoiler?
No.
Okay.
Sometimes we could just simplify it saying sometimes trying to do the right thing can lead to unintended consequences,
Yeah.
or you step on moral conflicts where you're like, well, I tried to do the right thing, but then this bad thing happened. I think that's a fair thing to say in spoiler-free section.
Most people, when they talk about Man of Steel, like you said, they say it's a bad Superman movie, and I'm not mad at that. However,
I think it's a good movie, though, just for the record.
Most people whose comments about the film are about tone, right? And I get it. Superman shouldn't be snapping necks if you're a traditional Superman fan. But here's the thing. If you're a comic book reader, right now, you can go buy All-Star Superman and enjoy that. Or you can go buy this new Absolute Superman, where it's really dark and edgy and he does some morally questionable things. And they're just two different interpretations.
See, the difference is, though, I would argue, and I'm not disagreeing with what you're positioning. The problem, as I see it, is you only get one at a time on the big screen.
Yes.
Whereas with comics, you can just go dealer's choice. But if I'm a kid, I'm going to go see what's new.
Right.
And if I'm a kid who goes and sees Man of Steel and I'm like, yeah, Superman snapping necks, thinks humans suck. I'm,
100%.
I get concerned about, like, I feel like they missed the point.
No, I agree. So to close out my thought, I'll say this. The problem with Man of Steel is, for what that character means and is supposed to represent, you have to nail the vulnerability and the emotions and all that stuff and the hope. Because I brought up Captain America earlier. Captain America's entire reputation was saved by the first Captain America movie and the later Avengers movies, because Chris Evans brought so much humanity to the character. He wasn't this stuck-up guy who, his perception in the comics, especially, in the Black community, is Captain America's like a cop. And you know what I mean? He's not a character that now we love Chris Evans versions because he brought so much humanity to it. He's a normal guy who just wants to do the right thing. And so that these directors have a lot of power over the public perception of superheroes. Captain America's public perception was saved. People thought Spider-Man made organic webs for 10 years because of the Raimi movies. So when you have Superman snapping people's necks, the beacon of hope becomes a guy who doesn't know what the right thing is, or Superman's
muddies the waters.
Yeah, it muddies the waters. And what does he say in All-Star Superman? No matter how dark it gets, there's always a way. When you want to share Superman to the world on the big screen in a big budget film, he needs to have that kind of attitude of no matter how dark it gets, there's always a way. He snapped Zod's neck because you wrote that he snapped Zod's neck. You could have found out a way to get around that. And James Gunn found out a way to make a Superman who does the right thing. You don't have to worry about what he's going to do because he does the right thing, or he tries.
This Superman's like worried about collateral damage. He's worried about everybody else.
Well, I did. There was times that watching this movie, I don't know that it was intentional or just just what we bring into our knowledge of how all the criticisms of Man of Steel. But they go out of their way to like address all the collateral damage. He's like, no, I saved this many people and I saved this much money. I didn't want to knock over these expensive bills. You know what I mean? They actually go out of their way to be like, look, I'm trying to like save stuff, not knock it over.
I also think I think Gunn is smart. I think he's also in the future is going to be leading up to, if you've watched all of the DC animated universe, that final episode of Justice League where like there's nobody in Metropolis.
Yeah.
And he was like, you know what? no one's around here, so now I'm going to show you how strong I am. Like I think they're building up to probably that at some point, that he's super worried about collateral damage, to put him into a scenario where there's going to be no collateral damage, so you're going to see what he can do.
Interesting.
I think Gunn is thinking ahead on that stuff.
So, Joe, we've talked a lot about Man of Steel so far. You say your preferred version, or the version you're most familiar with, would be the Donner film.
Mhm.
How would you compare this Superman to the Donner film?
I mean, they call back to it specifically with the choice of the soundtrack, with the titles mirroring those early titles, I think very smartly. What
Miss Tessmacher's in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I will say is
And
I've
Otis.
been like listening to y'all talk is I would rewatch 78 Superman. I think I only saw Man of Steel once, and I have no desire to like ever see it again.
It does not. I will say this: you do not walk out of Man of Steel feeling good.
No, yeah,
Yeah,
and
true.
this new movie is one I want to rewatch. Like I already want to see it again, and I will see it again. That doesn't necessarily like need to be the barometer of whether a movie's good or does the right things, but I would rather enjoy a movie enough to want to watch it again, and I feel like this is the movie that gives me that rather than Man of Steel. So, yeah, it's been a while since I've seen 78 Superman, but I think what sticks out to me most about it is the performance, the scenes where he's playing Clark versus, bold and standing up straight as Superman. And I think that David Cornsweet specifically modeled a lot of his performance after that. I know he modeled some of it after comics as well. I apologize, I don't have that on hand, but I know that he's like very savvy about the comics and about that original movie. So it definitely comes into play in this film more so than.
Can I say
else.
something? When they were filming Twisters here, my buddy was working on that set,
Oh yeah.
The day
and
on that day.
yeah. So he told me, David he wasn't going around telling everybody, "Hey, I'm a Superman." My buddy said,
So
they
David
have to-
Cornsweet, by the way, just for folks who aren't unfamiliar, was a main supporting character in Twisters.
Yeah. So apparently, he was filming it when he got the call or something, or when they announced it, and they like let everybody know about it. They put him on speakerphone and was telling everybody about it.
Wow.
But I can't remember if the announcement was after the strike or before. But my buddy who was working on set said after the SAG strike, he came back to set jacked with a handful of Superman comics. And he was reading them. Like in between takes, he was sitting down reading Superman comics. No cameras, nobody, just off to the side by himself. So he was really into it.
Awesome. Love to hear that. Alex, how would you compare this to other versions of Superman?
I think it's really good. I mean, I think everybody kind of has to deal with Christopher Reeve just because his performance is so good. I mean, he met the initial tagline of that film, which is like, "You will believe a man can fly." And the fact that like also Christopher Reeve has kind of this secondary thing of like him as a person, like you hear nothing but good things about him.
Have you seen that? There's a recent documentary that just came out about his life where I think it gets really into the weeds. Like this guy really was the real deal. He was a good dude.
And his son is in the movie for a split second as a reporter. I think his son works for like Good Morning America or something like that.
I think you're right.
But I think he stands up to it. I really think he does. I will say I still didn't get enough of Clark Kent from David Cornsweet to really kind of like confirm that. But because if I'm correct, the way that they did the tryout for Superman was the scene from Superman 2, where Lois shoots him with the gun. Because in that scene, you see him transform from Clark to Superman. And so, I don't know, there's just, if you watch that scene over again, it is amazing. Like the performance that Chris Reeve gives from just like the bumbling farm boy to I am Superman. And it's pretty great. I know that they I think that's what they used also for Brandon Routh, who I also think gave a very good performance. I think he was let down by the filmmaker in that film. But I don't think anybody has big criticisms of his performance in that.
I mean, he was great.
Yeah.
He's another one of those actors that shows up, does the job, and then didn't.
He's awesome.
Not a great movie.
But I mean, that movie is so fantastic in so many ways, and Mario Puzo really nailing that script. And I'd highly suggest if anybody wants to rewatch that version of Superman, there is a 3-hour extended cut.
Whoa.
Yeah,
I didn't
so
know that.
it was really popular back in like the 70s and 80s when like movies would premiere on TV for the first time,
Right.
that they would actually make it an extended cut, throw in some new scenes to really kind of get people to watch it. There's only been one release of it. I've actually done a screening of it years ago. It's the only time I've done like a 3-hour screening. But it's actually pretty fantastic too. It's still like, there's still so much to love about that film. And I don't know, I thought about the 70s Superman a lot during this, or during watching the new Superman, but it was all positive. I was like, oh, I see these little things here and there. I think David does a great job. I think he does a great job. It doesn't matter though, with that role, you're still going to have to be dealing with Christopher Reeve on you the whole time. It's kind of like,
I mean, you cast perfection with the first cinematic version, really. So everybody's going to be compared to Christopher
anybody
Reeve.
who's ever going to be the captain of a Starfleet ship is going to be compared to William Shatner, no matter what.
Every Batman's going to be compared to
Robert Pattinson.
You used to say Michael Keaton. Now I think we're all saying Christian Bale. I even think with Batman, there's not as that many definitives,
right,
as there is like
Superman.
Christopher Reeve is it.
Mm-hmm.
Like no one's like, well, like I don't know, like what's his name? Mark Ruffalo's not Bill Bixby. No one's bringing that up.
Can I just say Christopher Reeve is the greatest comic book casting of all time?
Yeah.
And I think Robert Downey Jr. is right under him. And then there's a gap.
Yeah.
And then I would throw Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, and then there's a super huge gap. That's me personally.
I'd throw in Patrick Stewart as Professor X.
Ooh, yeah.
Okay.
But that also was super obvious at the time. Everyone's like, yeah, he's Professor X, right?
I'll say McKellen is Magneto, but
Yeah.
No, but it's just I think he handles the weight of that. David Cornsweet's performance handles the weight of that comparison really, really well.
Yeah. I mean, gosh, you guys have said it all, but I love that Cornsweet is bringing kind of the corny, silly, good old boy energy back, like the shucks,
what the hey, dude.
What the hey, dude? Yeah, exactly. And I love the scene where Lois is again going back to the scene between him and Lois, where he's like, what was it the band he likes? That's like an emo band or whatever. The Crab, whatever they're called, I can't remember.
Yeah,
but
Crab Joys.
Yeah. And he's like, yeah, they're punk rock, and she's like, they're not punk rock. They're mainstream. They're on the radio all the time. And I love he's such a dork because he's so into it, and he believes that unabashedly and sincerely. I think the thing I would say about the Superman is this brings a level of sincerity and appreciation for the character, all the versions of the character. I think even more than the Christopher Reeves. That's a very cinematic classic. Obviously, it established a lot of what we know, but we go into weird sci-fi, Silver Age Superman here. It's a very sincere movie that earnestly loves Superman, which is why I would compare it more to, in a lot of ways, to the Raimi films, in the same way that I believe Sam Raimi just loves Spider-Man, specifically the Spider-Man he grew up with in the 70s. And he's like, that version is just so earnest. And I feel like this Superman, thanks to James Gunn, Cornsweet, the whole cast, and the willingness to lean into the weird, crazy, hokey sci-fi stuff, makes it the most earnest version of Superman that we've had on the big screen.
You're kind of right. It's kind of like they modeled it on the Reeve version, but kind of like fit it to be able to exist in any sort of like part of the DC universe, essentially. Like
it's got like a lot of the weird sci-fi stuff you'd see in like late stage MCU, that they also bake into this. We won't spoil it, but like there's a lot of like weird hokey, like that's definitely a comic book thing that they brought into this that you just couldn't actually do in the Reeves era, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, they didn't have the ability to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So but otherwise, I agree with pretty much everything you guys have all said, just in terms of comparisons. And
what did you not agree with?
I agree with everything.
Okay, so you did pretty much. I don't know.
Pretty much. Oh, okay. I mean, I just want to say, guys, and again, I'll say it to all the people who want to accuse me of hating on the Snyderverse, that I really want the best for Henry Cavill, and I think he deserved a better Superman movie.
I will tell you this about the Snyderverse: if I'm on the phone with you and I say something good about the Snyderverse, I've been kidnapped, and I'm trying to send you a message.
That's your secret message. Like,
that's my secret message.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Last big question. We're really gonna dive in spoilers. Do we think James Gunn was successful? I mean, I think we've already sort of answered that question. Frankly.
Yes.
Resounding yes.
Yep.
Okay. Well,
motion passes.
All right. Well, I think Korey, you said it really well. There was 2 assignments: make a good Superman movie that actually is a Superman, true and true Superman, and then set the stage for a new cinematic universe. I don't know. I feel like mission accomplished.
Yes.
Yes.
Do we think this is a big enough hit for Warner Brothers to keep writing the checks?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
It will keep making money. I
Okay.
think the buzz online is like going to be only building from here.
I feel like it's going to leg out. I think you're right. I think it's going to leg out.
Yeah.
I think it's also going to do well in merchandising.
Yeah.
I mean, like every kid wants crypto toys right now. The two kind of like the big kaiju character, you're going to sell those. It's going to do really well, I think, even on the outside stuff. But it did the main thing, which was it made Superman cool again.
Yeah.
And that was the main goal of this thing the entire time.
Remind people why Superman's a great character.
And I think what you said about Captain America was true. Like the first Captain America was like, you got to make him cool again because you can't just make him the boring, soldier,
Yep.
aye, sir.
Well, and I just think it says something. I do think there's something to Corey's point we were talking about earlier. The Obama years. 2013. You have to
The
think
audacity of hope.
like Christopher Nolan's Batman movies were massive hits when he was a producer on Man of Steel, and I think a lot of conceptually, I think a lot of it was actually a Christopher Nolan idea. And it was like dour, bleak, question the system, was sort of like I think where a lot of our pop culture was at the time.
And now we're like, we've questioned it too much. Everybody calm down.
Things are going off the rails. We need hope to bring us back, is what it feels like. So yeah, it just signals kind of where our heads are at. Oh, you mentioned crypto. Real quick. We pro crypto, too much crypto, not enough crypto. How do we feel about crypto?
When you watch the movie, you can hear a movie executive with a cigar saying more crypto. And there might be like 10% too much crypto.
I go to on the it didn't bother me on the first viewing. On the second viewing, I was like, I think 10%. There was like one too many doing crypto stuff moments for me, but didn't ruin the movie. I don't know, Joe, crypto.
I think that was one thing I was concerned about going in. I think as you're watching, at least for me on one viewing, I wasn't upset at it. I wish it weren't all CG.
Yeah.
But I do love that he based it on his own dog.
Yeah, but
Yes.
listen, this CGI is taking away jobs from real dogs.
I know. Get Ozu in there, his dog.
As a father of 3 rescue dogs, I also love that he's like, yeah, it's based off my rescue dog, who is a very bad dog.
Yeah.
Just like you said, just nailed it. Corey, where do you stand on this crypto?
Man, I think it was brilliant. James Gunn has this thing to where he really knows how to use animals. I mean, he got us to care about a raccoon dying.
He's not technically a raccoon.
Well,
Wow.
and they what was the name of the space dog that they brought?
Oh, Cosmo.
Cosmo, the space dog. Yeah, so he did that well. He knows how to
Protector
do
of
it.
nowhere.
One thing I will say though is, for me, it was just enough. Any more crypto, and I've been like, all right, James, you're doing a lot here.
Yeah.
We spoiler. We good to
No, not quite.
Not- okay.
Almost.
Well, crypto's there, has purpose there. And
he's almost Deus Ex Cryptica.
yeah. And then when we find out what happens with him at the very end, it explains a lot. So I think James Gunn and the kids love, like you said, the kids love crypto. Brilliant marketing. It worked for me.
And I'm really excited because if they bring in the Red Lanterns, the head of the Red Lanterns has a cat
Ooh, animals are going to be big in this universe.
named Dexstar. And I am
Although,
very hoping to see a super pet battle.
I am used to a very trained and obedient and
This is a different crypto.
yeah, you know what I mean? Like this, but yeah, we'll have to get into spoilers for that. But yeah,
I will say that my niece, who has never really been exposed to Superman meaningfully at all, went to the movie with it. In fact, when we sent out an invite, we didn't actually think she was going to want to go because we're like, oh, superhero is kind of a guy thing. I mean, I know that's not true, but that was our assumption, was that she might think that. And she's like, no, let's go. And she was into it the whole time.
She loved it.
She
Yeah,
was
I
not
remember.
boring. She was chatting about how much she liked it. Like the next day to her grandma, I was like, all right. So she wasn't just telling us she liked it. She kept talking about it. So that's great news. That's exciting. Warms my heart. What letter grade would we give Superman, Joe Light?
Hey.
Hey. Love to hear that. Corey?
okay. So as a Superman fan, and this is a comic book movie, I gotta grade this on a scale. But I'm gonna give it
An A?
for sure.
Excellent.
I'm at an A- on it. I think there's even more that they could do here. I think we'll look back on this as good, but like that, if James Gunn does what I think he's capable of, I think there's gonna be some bigger highs we're gonna get from out of this.
If this is the starting point for where his creative energy is and it's a hit, I mean, just think about do you remember when Guardians came out and everyone was like, how is this movie going to work? This is going to push audiences too far. They bought Thor, sure, but these Guardians, this is going to be too weird.
There's a tree.
And obviously we all fell in love, and it sort of opened up almost a new level of creativity. It sort of unlocked, I would say, for Marvel in a lot of
Cosmic
ways.
Marvel, yeah.
Mhm.
Well, with Guardians, you have nothing to lose, and people don't know what to expect.
Mhm.
So it's just like,
But
you know.
I'm just saying, if this is the starting point of the DCU, I just feel like, to Alex's point, we have a whole lot of other crazy stuff coming our way.
I cannot wait for all, because also James Gunn seems to like all the weird stuff.
He
Yeah.
does, yeah.
I cannot wait for Mr. Mxyzptlk to show up.
Oh my God, really? I love Mr. Mxyzptlk. Or is that
Wait,
saying
was
Mxyzptlk?
that? We'll get into it.
Did I say it backwards?
No, what are you saying?
Oh, Mr. Mxyzptlk?
Is it Mxyzptlk?
He's
I thought it was Mxyzptlk.
interdimensional imp who can control and bend reality.
He looks like an elf
I'm gonna have
usually.
to see that spelled.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
you do not want to.
You don't want to.
Essentially, he's like he's a Silver Age like annoyance of Superman, like where he'll show up every once in a while and just screw up Superman's life, and the only way to make him go away is to make him say his name backwards.
Oh, okay.
And so there's always like everyone, like every 4 years there's a Superman comic where he shows up,
Okay.
and he looks ridiculous.
What the?
Yeah, exactly.
He's
Sorry,
an interdimensional imp.
audio listeners, I just showed her a photo and also how to spell his name.
Wow.
He is a deep cut. I do love that character, though. I am, as a Superman story, I'm going to give this an A plus, frankly, because I think that it nails it. As a movie, I'm going to give it a B plus, because I do feel like there are a lot of ideas, and I think generally all the ideas do get some coverage. But between the number of characters that I wish I would have seen just a little more, and some of the ideas I would have liked expanded upon a little more, I feel like from the movie POV, an extra 10 minutes could have gotten this up to an A. But as is, give it a B plus. Superman movie though, A plus. What other recommendations would we suggest to listeners who like or are interested in Superman? Alex Palmer.
All-Star Superman. If you like this movie, you need to go read All-Star Superman or Superman for All Seasons. I think those are really good. You can tell there's a lot of those put into this. I even think some of Superman Birthright, I'm not as big a fan of that as the other ones. But those are really interesting Superman stories. But All-Star Superman's might be the best superhero story of the 21st century.
And by the way, go read the comic. Don't watch the animated adaptation. It's not very. It does not do the source material justice.
It tried. It just didn't have enough time.
Exactly.
It didn't go into Bizarro world. But I would say if you like those are the ones to get to. Maybe Superman versus the Elite if you want something a little different, where Superman's kind of more in a moral conundrum.
Yeah, well said, Korey. What would you recommend?
So, comic book recommendation, if you like the Superman, I wanted to say all those, but Gunn's been very vocal about his inspiration for those, so I want to go with something a little different, which is the last Superman book I actually bought, which is a Superman Space Age.
Ooh.
I've been really loving that one. It's set from 1965 to 1985, so it's set during it goes through the Kennedy era up through let me think, what's happening in 85, like the Reagan era and everything that's going on with the Russians, and so that's a heavy conflict in that book, but it really captures the morality and the hope and thoughtfulness and vulnerability that Corn Sweat's Superman does. So if you want a new Superman story you haven't seen, or excuse me, haven't read, check that one out. Also for the animation, My Adventures with Superman.
Now I'm Max. It's really. I'm watching it right now. I'm like halfway through season 1. It's
I
really
just
good.
started, and I was a little resistant, and now I'm like, this show is great.
So growing up off the 90s one, it was hard for me to get into certain concepts and things they were doing. It's very much an anime-inspired show, but what they really nail is Clark's humanity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
His character, the relationship dynamic between him, Lois, and Jimmy is incredible. So if you really like a younger, more cool, because I feel like I'm saying it now, James Gunn has made Superman cool again, thank God. Check out My Adventures with Superman, and I'll throw a random one on here. Disney's Hercules movie.
Yeah.
If you are a fan of this Superman, you should revisit this movie, and it'll make you feel some things. Some themes I want to go into a little bit later that I feel like Gunn drew from.
It'll make you want to go the distance.
Does James Woods show up in a Superman movie. Has he been in a Lex Luthor yet?
Yeah, no. James Gunn shows up in Justice League Crisis on Two Earths by voicing.
Oh, you're right. He's Owlman.
Oh yeah.
Hey, that's a great. I mean, it's not a Superman story; it's more of a Justice League story. But yes, the Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths. I love
Two Earths.
Yeah, I love that one. It's one of the better direct to DVD.
And I'll say this: I love James Gunn as an actor. I know he's James Gunny.
James Woods.
James Woods. I mean, yeah, sorry, James Woods. I love James Woods. He's always good at stuff.
Yes, just ignore anything he's ever said.
Don't read his tweets.
Ignore
just watch
the
his
talking head version of him. Just watch the performances. He's a really good sleazy bad guy. I guess it checks out.
So good. Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna throw out comic recommendation, and in fact, I've got it again for this is the audio medium. But you have Luthor is a big one. Man of Steel is a good one. Again, as a Smallville stan,
First season of Smallville is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
You don't like it?
I don't think that show really starts cooking until season 3, if I'm being honest. Lex, okay, you need the early seasons to show how nice Lex can be and all the demons he has to like overcome.
Yeah.
But that's the setup. The payoff for that's like seasons 3 through 5.
You're right. You're right.
Specifically for the Lex Luthor stuff, there's a lot of reasons the first couple seasons are very.
Did you finish the show?
Oh yeah,
you were
all
like
10
me,
seasons.
where it's like I don't care how bad this gets. I'm seeing that guy in the suit, whether if it kills me.
Yeah, I did in fact watch all 10 seasons. I think I watched 5 of them as they were airing as new episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So that show is about 30% great, 70% trash, and but the 30% that's great, it's great. Anyway,
it's like pro wrestling. There's a lot of bad stuff, but when it hits, it hits.
It hits really well. I say it to say, Lex Luthor, Man of Steel, I think gets into really the philosophical battles between Clark Kent, Superman, and Lex Luthor. You get into the psychology. It's set from Lex Luthor's point of view, and you really, there's a monologue that we'll talk about later from Lex Luthor in this film, but it's basically a comic. There's 5 issues. That basically is like that monologue, but what if that's the whole story? What if it's just about that thought? And I think it does a really good job against Lex Luthor, Man of Steel from writer Brian Azzarello. I think I always say it wrong. If you want, if you really want a grim, evil Superman, you could skip Man of Steel and go watch the James Gunn produced film Brightburn, in which he turns the Superman origin story into what if Superman was a serial killer as a kid. Very fun, very playful.
You just reminded me. If you want to see an interesting alternate Superman Red Sun.
Yes.
Which is
comic's great.
A version of Superman that landed in Russia and how that would have changed kind of like, DC history is a lot of fun.
Well, it's fun. And the thing I like about that I think it does in a very interesting fashion is it reveals to you what it is about what makes Superman when you remove all the Americana. I think it does a really good job with that. Plus, it's just super fun to watch Superman basically kill everyone.
Yeah, he's not
as a
nice.
Communist superhero. So those are a couple of my alternate media recommendations. Joe, what are your alternate media recommendations?
So mine are going to be out of left field. Iron Giant.
Oh, yeah. Amazing movie.
Great.
1999, Brad Bird, Superman, plays a part in a small way. Other comic book movies I feel like have the same like earnestness or close to it. The first X-Men.
Yes.
Spider-Man, which we've already talked about. My other recs are kind of weird just because I was going for like, who else is like this wholesome? And I thought of Ikiru, Kurosawa film.
Oh, yeah.
Just like a really good dude, like doing good stuff. I really like Logan. I feel like Logan is dark, obviously, but for me, it was like the best superhero film before this for me. And then I'll just throw a YouTuber in there. He's a local filmmaker, actually, an acquaintance of mine, Spencer Sakurai. Spencer with an S. He did a how-to video where he used the lens that they use to shoot those sort of, it's not like a snorri cam, but it's like sort of when he's flying, it looks like that. It's a Leica lens, and he shows you how to do that if you're interested as a filmmaker.
I am, because one of the things I like about the movie is how different the action looks, specifically because of how they shot it with the lens.
Yeah. So I would check that out. He's a really cool local dude.
Very cool. Great recommends, everyone.
Also Superman 64 on the N64.
No, don't put that curse upon anybody. That game is awful.
You get to fly through rings.
You get to fly through rings. No, just no. All right, listeners. Well, we are going to jump into spoilers for Superman. So if you do not want to be spoiled, go ahead and tune out now.
Well, I don't know what you thought you heard out there, but I know what you can prove, and it's nothing. You see, Superman, I own Metropolis. My technology built it, my will keeps it going, and nearly 2/3 of its people work for me whether they know it or not. Even you have to admit it's a model of efficiency. And yet, I've often thought, why limit myself to just one city? A being with your abilities could be very useful to me on a, shall we say, global scale. Why don't you float on in and we'll discuss it?
So yes, Korey, we have arrived. The gloves are off. Any spoiler thoughts you have, you can throw them out now. But the first topic I want to tackle is just sort of like how this film is a modern interpretation of Superman that really wears his sort of values on his sleeve, going back to that like earnestness, sincerity. Like, I feel like for a good, and some of this I would actually blame on the MCU. For a good like decade plus, it's been like embarrassing. Oh, we can't say what we mean without there being some sort of quip to make fun of it, or like, we know that thing we said was silly, wink, or isn't that goofy, So I love that this film is making an attempt at that. I mean, Superman is a notoriously tough character to crack on the big screen. Frankly, following Richard Donner's 1978 Superman, the movie, followed by Superman 2, both people generally like those two films, specifically the Richard Donner cut of the second one.
Donner cut, baby.
It's been a pretty mixed bag, both critically and at the box office. I mean, Superman 3 and Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, were both bombs, both critically and financially. Bryan Singer's Superman Returns, we already mentioned that, 2006.
Very blah.
It sucks because that was a great opportunity for them to modernize Superman, and Bryan Singer is like, but no, I just want to write a love letter to the Donner movies and also make a weird continuation that no one was really asking for. It was a very weird choice, and it was a lot of blah.
Also, Kate Bosworth was a terrible casting.
A lot of weird casting choices in that movie.
Hey, listen, it's got Parker Posey. They didn't do everything wrong.
Kevin Spacey was a great casting choice. They just miswrote him, and then he later turned out to be a monster. Then we got Man of Steel 2013.
Surprised that the villain was inside of him all along.
Yeah, there we go. Then we get 2013's Man of Steel, divisive. So now it's 2025, and the world looks a lot different than it did even 12 years ago, as we've already established.
The world's darker, but Superman's brighter.
What did you think about how this film takes a modern interpretation on the main characters, specifically Superman, Clark, Superman/Clark, Lois, and Lex?
Well, I think they did one thing, which I think you have to do with Superman, which is kind of look to the John Byrne kind of like Man of Steel version. They weakened him a little bit. There are some versions of Superman that are just way too powerful. He can just kind of flick anything and it flies away.
Pull a chain string of planets and move them to a star that's not about to die.
Yeah, like, I mean, you don't want him to be one punch man. Like,
Right.
You can't have him just win everything. You have to have some struggle. But it goes back to what that YouTuber a long time ago said. He's still as strong as he needs to be.
He literally, the first shot of the movie is him. I mean, I also, we didn't even talk about it in the spoiler-free section, but the opening title card was really, really interesting. I did catch it the second time. How 300 years ago, metahumans appeared.
That's Frankenstein from Creature Commandos.
Oh, okay.
Pretty sure.
Yeah. But, it kind of goes down 300 years ago, this happened. 30 years ago, Kal-El lands on Earth, and then 3 minutes ago, Superman loses his first fight. And then, you literally see him just get, land.
Not mentioned in that crawl is that 3 months ago, him and Lois started dating.
Ooh.
Oh, they
nice
mentioned...
touch.
Yeah, I forgot they mentioned that later.
But your point though, the vulnerability is a huge feature here. I think that they want you to start from the get go. Now this guy can get his ass kicked.
Yeah, I think it's necessary. I mean, just for the character, and I think one of the most successful versions was that in the '80s when they depowered him a little bit, because it was. If you read a lot of Superman in the Golden Age, everything just bounces off of him. Every once in a while, kryptonite will turn him into a dog for a minute or two. And then he goes back to kind of just picking up bank robbers by the back of their scruff of their necks and dropping them off at the police station. So I think you have to, I think adding that struggle and it just makes it interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So power levels off the bat is one change. Korey, what do you think about how this film takes a more modern interpretation of those main characters?
Well, Caleb, man, one thing James Gunn did that I really, and I'm going to go a little left field because you kind of inspired me with your Iron Giant comparison because I love that movie. And in that movie, Superman's character does what he's supposed to do, as inspire the Iron Giant to do something really brave and heroic. So that was really great. Thank you for re-unlocking that memory for me. But so where I'm going to take this is, I'm reading Milestone Comics right now. And in Milestone Comics, there's a character named Icon.
Hell yeah.
And so Icon is often called, quote unquote, the Black Superman. But I noticed in these comics, he does a few things where like Rocket, his sidekick, will say a curse word and he'll be like language. And it's little things like that. It's like, Icon is like he's a complex character, but he's trying to do things the right way, excuse me. But in the book, Brainiac, it's a deep cut for my nerds out there. Brainiac is a multiversal being, meaning like there's only one Brainiac in the whole multiverse, and he can like
Is Brainiac not Superman's Brainiac? Or it is Superman's Brainiac?
Well, Brainiac had some connection to I think it was because he like absorbed some of the source wall, so he's able to like kind of be interdimensional. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but in this book,
real quick, everyone. So the source wall is
No. Wait. On track.
Okay. I promise. I promise. I got a point here. Is that in this universe, Brainiac makes a mention of how Icon is this. He reminds him of Superman, and he's this universe is Superman, and he's a superpower being who's doing the right thing. And so I say all that to say, I think that the anime equivalent would be Goku. Like the anime analog of Superman, in my opinion, would be Goku. And the thing about Goku is, and a lot of anime fans will reject this, but he came from another planet, blah, 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 super powerful, tries to do the right thing, help people. He's very much Superman-like. Towards the middle to end of this Dragon Ball series, Goku's like, Akira Toriyama leans into the righteousness of it. He doesn't shy away from it. There are points in times when other characters around Goku are like, why are you like this? Why are you so corny? But Goku leans into what he believes to be the right thing. And so I say all that to say, I think James Gunn, what he did really well here is lean into the silliness of Superman, and that he thinks it's cool. Like, he thinks he's punk rock. In my headcanon, David Cornsweat Superman thinks his trunks on the outside looks cool. Yeah. And he thinks that this is a dope uniform. I don't know what you guys
He's such a dork.
Yeah, he's a dork. He thinks he looks cool. They're leaning into the corniness. And I just think that Superman is gonna reflect society in a sense of like, during the Obama years, for me, those were the best years of my life. And then, people were happy, so being happy is not cool anymore. So let's make a Superman who's dark, like we mentioned earlier. Now, politically, there are things that are going on. Political leaders speak poorly about people that look differently. They speak terribly about women. They speak terribly about, all these things. Excuse me. If you're in a position of power and authority, you should be presidential and carry yourself a kind of way. And Superman does that. He always carries himself a certain kind of way.
Because he understands the responsibility of his powers, and that the world is looking at him as an example for what to do.
Exactly. So I think that is something that James and company really leaned into. You give him this dog, and I'm thinking to myself, why would Superman's dog behave this way? Why would this farm boy with these great morals and discipline have a crazy dog? And later you find out it's his cousin who likes to party all the time. It's her dog. It's not even his dog. You know what I mean? So no, man, just leaning into the goofiness of, that's why the Justice Game works. Because James Gunn isn't afraid to say, hey, the superheroes exist, and they work for corporations, and they do these.
Because in our world, if there were superheroes, they would work for corporations. Have you seen The Boys also?
And there's gonna be a couple of them that are kind of dicks.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the Green Lantern show with Guy Gardner.
Oh, I know. Oh my gosh. As somebody who has loved comics for a long time, Guy Gardner is such a great character because
this is Guy Gardner, the Green Lantern, played by Nathan Fillion. For
everybody hates Guy Gardner.
Everyone hates him.
There's a famous scene in Justice League International where he pisses off Batman enough. Batman just cold cocks him, just knocks him straight out. Which Batman in the comics never loses his cool, and he was like, "Screw it, I'm taking him out, just punching him."
And then
knocking him
Wonder
out.
Woman and Superman are laughing about it later.
Yeah.
You really hit him?
Yeah, he's like, "I hit him. Yeah, I did it." It's kind of literally that reminds me of like the time that like Reggie Miller got Michael Jordan to throw a punch at him because that's how annoying he was. Like,
Yeah. I mean, I think like kind of like, well, I don't know. Actually, Joe, I'll throw it to you first. In terms of thinking about the versions you've seen on the big screen before, how do you think this film modernizes I would say the main trio for the Superman characters?
Yeah. I think that one thing we've kind of touched on already is the fact that it starts sort of in the middle of action. So Lois and him are already together. I actually love that they did that because it gave us somewhere to go.
Mhm.
Like, they're not quote unquote happy. Like, if anything, I'm like, that girl's crazy. Like, because why are you even considering not being with this guy? But I do like that it inserts.
yeah, like what's your better option?
I know,
Like,
like,
what's your better
girl.
option out there?
Girl. But I do like that they did that to give that relationship somewhere to go. I really like her as a character. I think I'll just depart a little bit and say tonally, I really like the version of this world. And again, I don't know if this is like standard for the universe where they're just like, it's sort of like is old hat. Like in Metropolis, like all these people don't really care that there's like an internet dimensional being in the background. Like I loved, that was for me one of the moments where the movie really clicked, where it's like, oh, this is the universe that we're living in. And like everybody's just kind of ignoring this huge kaiju and just going about their day. And that felt so fresh to me.
Yeah.
And it just gave the whole movie a new perspective in my eyes.
Well, metahumans have been around for 300 years.
Yeah.
So there's stuff is going on. Superman's new
But
to the scene.
I didn't even know what that meant, so thank you for
Well,
clarifying.
it got me kind of thinking about like, you know, that in this universe there might be like the old Justice Society. Like there might have been like, you know, the old original like Wildcat and original
You didn't see that?
What?
Oh,
They mentioned Wildcat in there?
No, you go back and watch, man. When you go to the Hall of Justice,
Uh-huh.
while they're talking, look at the top.
Did
and
like
there-
Alan Scott
there are paintings of. I definitely saw Wildcat,
and probably like Alan Scott Green Lantern and
I definitely saw
original
Wildcat.
Flash. Okay.
Yeah,
fine.
Jay
Well,
Garrick is there, I believe.
Jay Garrick, yeah.
Yeah.
With his little hat.
So bring it back. That is cool. I did not notice that.
Now we gotta go watch it again.
I know.
We're gonna
Yeah,
pause
third-
the podcast.
third
James
time's the
Gunn
charge.
got us.
Hey guys, I don't want to cut off. The one thing I want to add kind of speaks to, and we'll get to it a little more later. It feels kind of wild. You're like, how could the whole city not evacuate every time an interdimensional being shows up? But it kind of reminds me of the world we're in right now, where it feels like
Yeah.
atrocities are happening on the daily, if not hourly, and we all just are like, yep, the world's on fire. Right? But I
Yeah.
have time
Kind
to
of like
focus
us
on
with tornadoes. Like, is it close?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I'm going
yeah.
about my
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
It feels real in that way, though, like emotionally. You're like, that's crazy. That's happening. But in this world, they're so used to it that it's just like, just daily business.
Yeah, but I think it helps make Superman a stronger character too, because he is still so good in the face of all this like cynicism,
Mhm.
as people are just like, well, whatever, and they don't really care. He cares so much.
And
Yeah.
that scene also, I think, shows a difference between Superman and Batman. Superman would trust his allies to take care of something. Batman does not.
No, right. Yeah, I mean, I would just say about this. I think this, again, it kind of threads that needle between classic and timely. We've already talked about David Cornsweet a lot, but, he's relatable, he's charming, idealistic, he's grounded in a very strong set of values. Every life matter. The truth is a non-negotiable. The world could and should be a finer place for everyone. So, and his actions sort of inspire and unite people behind those ideals for a better tomorrow. So we've already sort of established that. But I also want to talk about Nicholas Holt's Lex Luthor. He is, again, the evil billionaire driven purely by ego. And as the movie, they say he's driven by envy. He will deploy every tool money can buy to take down Superman. He just is kind of petty. He just hates Superman. It's a deeply personal vendetta. He uses misinformation. He uses his political influences, his technology. And I thought it was great. There's the moment in the movie where he says, you don't understand. I'm not taking you out so that I can invade this country and take it over. I'm invading the country so that I can kill you, have an excuse to be legally allowed to kill you.
Yeah.
Which is also very timely in the fact that you have a lot of very wealthy, powerful people trying really hard to figure out how they can manipulate the system in order to do truly evil things legally.
Yeah.
Feels very true to life. And so those are kind of your core sort of tension between your good guy, bad guy. But then you also have Lois Lane in this film. And again, this is not new, but I don't think it's been done very well in most of the movies. She is the audience surrogate. She is the skeptic. Who is Superman, and are his actions doing more harm than good? Can someone with that much power actually be noble, or must there be ulterior motives? So I feel like, she's sort of asking a lot of the questions the audience is sort of asking in a really smart way without being didactic. That's another thing I probably should have mentioned in the review. This movie, while wearing its emotions on its sleeves and its point of view on its sleeve, never feels didactic, which is really impressive. Like, all right, children, here's the point of the story. It doesn't do that, but
spoon feed you. Yeah.
but it also is pretty clear, I think, in what it's trying to get at. So I just want to call out that the classic characterizations brought and utilized really effectively in a story like this was one of the most impressive parts of the film for me. That leads me to, though, we did have a major change. Now for comic fans, this is not a first time thing. But for definitely moviegoers and people who are not as steeped in the comics, big change to the origin story. In this case, a lot more like in the Invincible comics, where Kal-El's been sent to Earth by his parents. Yes, not only as his last hope, but also they're talking about, and you need to go and rule over them with an iron fist and impregnate all the women so that you can keep the blood of Krypton alive. How does sort of changing the origin story here really reposition Superman's POV in the story?
Well, do we also think that was true?
I do.
You do? Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I think the movie goes out of its way. And
I guess the movie does kind
of... It does do a lot of hand-wavy ways to do it, but there's at least 2 or 3 times where they're like, I don't know if it's true. They're like, no, it's definitely true.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's either 100% true or 100% made up, false. I think in the context of this film that we watched, it's true because he needs to learn that lesson in this film. But to be honest with you, I think that eventually we may get a retcon in Supergirl where Supergirl goes, oh, that was a mistranslation, and it really means this.
But I want to talk about what it means in the context of this movie.
Yeah, so in this movie, I think it's true.
I think that the character Superman, when you make him more and more Kryptonian, I think he becomes less and less likable.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer that there should only be probably 3 Kryptonians existing in DC, and it should be Superman, Supergirl, and Zod if he's running around somewhere. And so, but I've always felt when he gets, starts talking in his language and starts becoming more and more Kryptonian, it just doesn't make him as likable. I think you need to make him as human as possible, and so I do think that helps with that thrust of making him more and more human. I mean, listen, I think we all have an attachment to the Marlon Brando version, but I still think this works. I think it works for reemphasizing the whole idea of the human nature of the alien.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Joe, what was your take on the change to the Kryptonian message, and then how that changes the origin story?
I mean, I will say I was a little confused, just because I had never heard that ever. So is that canon in some timelines?
There are some
Superman
versions.
Birthright.
Yeah. Okay.
And there's some other versions, even the main canon, where the Kryptonians are not the perfect altruistic society we think they were.
In My Adventures with Superman, the cartoon, you find out that they are not who we think they are.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I just watched the episode where you meet his dad, and I'm like, oh, his dad's got an eye patch, definitely a bad guy. Anyway.
But yeah, I do agree that the film goes out of its way to say no, that's definitely what they meant. So I was like, okay. I think it raises some interesting questions about nature versus nurture and why it matters.
His real
where you come from.
His real parents' names are Kent, Bond, Pa Kent.
Yeah, right. And I do love that message where at the end of the movie he's now using them as his source of, inspiration and Zen or whatever he is using that for. So yeah, I think that it does help tell the story that I think this film is trying to tell about him specifically and in choosing again to be the best version of himself possible, regardless of what his parents wanted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you hit on, the nature versus nature thing that stuck out to me. it sort of puts Superman's heritage or his kind of, in quotes, destiny at odds with knowing what he believes is right.
Chose his own destiny.
Exactly. Versus even with the Donner films, it's like you are destined to lead this planet to, it gives him more autonomy.
You have to show them the way, Kal-El.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Marlon Brando.
I'm sorry, but I love, regardless how you feel about Man of Steel. Okay, I feel like that first flight scene, is a beautiful scene. Like the way Zach constructs it. I think Gunn is trying to. Man of Steel tries to convince you that Jor-El is the one who is making Superman a hero, and I think Gunn wants you to think no, he's a hero because he wants to do this. He doesn't need this divine message from his heavenly father to go out here and be a good person.
That was my read on it too. Was this is definitely a huge pivot from the version that we got from Zack Snyder, which again is not. Also, again, I think most versions of Superman like this, which is, hey, you are our last hope of our race, and by the way, we're going to send you to this planet, and we want you to take our values on Krypton.
He'll be a god to them.
Exactly, and they really emphasize again the super, not the man part. Versus here, I think Gunn's saying, no, it's not what your blood. It's it's who raised you. It's your found family who and the values they instill in you, and you have to choose which one you're going to listen to. And in this case, he chooses the man part. He is a pro-human. And I think, it's a powerful, for anyone who feels like they've had to go up against those choices in life. Am I going to be a doctor like my dad or whatever, what have you? Or am I going to do my own thing? There's a little bit of, humanity that I feel like we don't see a lot of, especially in superheroes. Because I also think going back to the 2010s, we were all about like destiny and like prophecies, and this movie is like, no, none of that matters. You get to choose your own path.
Can we talk real quick? The casting of Maud Pa Kent is awesome.
Oh, yeah.
I love it.
Those two are great.
Yeah.
I love that she calls him Mush, that he's like a big guy that cries like at the drop of a hat. Like they were adorable.
Also, Pa Kent's still alive in this version. That's the first time for the cinematic, I'm pretty sure.
I like when they keep them both.
Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It keeps them more grounded.
Because then you could kill them later for
Oh,
for
no.
I don't say that.
So sorry.
Can I also just say, without being like, I don't want to bring it up and be weird, but I just love that Superman is out there without his shoes eating cereal.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to say that in like a WikiFeets way, but like, it's just so cute.
I'm
Like,
sorry.
I love
Everybody,
seeing him.
Let's pause real quick.
What?
What is WikiFeets?
Oh, it's a site where people rate feet.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, for like foot fetishes, I guess.
And Superman, is he
You're a
ranking pretty high?
professional movie critic. Are you also a critic on that side as well?
Yes.
Okay.
But they did do it. They did a polygraph with David Corn Sweat and what's Lex's name? I'm just
Nick
like
Holt.
Nick
Nicholas
Holt. They did that and they asked each other about their WikiFeets ratings. They're both really high, like 4.9, 6, and 7.
Really
I think,
attractive
but,
feet. You know?
Anyway, sidebar. Yeah, I think what I love about that scene is the vulnerability. Just talking about him being at home, because you don't see him that way any other time, I don't believe.
No.
Where he's just like chilling.
He's just himself, Clark Kent, but like not his. I'm acting like Clark Kent in the Daily Planet. I am just me.
He's relaxed.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, the thing I like about that scene too, the Pa Kent speech, I think, was just really powerful, because even Pa Kent, who is there to instill advice at him, his advice is, it doesn't really matter what I've taught you. My job is just to help give you the tools to figure out who you want to be.
Yeah, my job is just to love you.
Mhm.
Exactly.
You know?
And
So good.
it's
Yeah,
so good.
it really is. Like they killed that. And I listen, I enjoyed the surprise cameo you got for Kal-El.
Bradley Cooper.
Yeah.
Mhm.
A lot of people are I don't buy into this, but there's a lot of people who are like, they cast him because he looks like Zack Snyder, and I was like, nah, I think they cast him because James Gunn's his buddy. But
And they worked together?
They should have cast Zack Snyder. Just kidding. That would have been hilarious.
That would have been funny.
But there's like kind of the tradition of who plays Kal-El is always kind of like a big time actor,
Who plays
Or
Jor-El?
Jor-El. Yeah.
sorry. But having, Brando and then Russell Crowe before. So it was good.
Yeah. It does make me wonder if we're going to get more of that later or not. It doesn't matter.
I hope not. I really hope not.
I definitely don't want to revisit the message. I actually kind of hope they stick with that and say, nope, this is just the heritage, and
Just move on from it.
I want to listen to Mr. We even talked about Mr.
Terrific.
Terrific, who stole the scene. I mean, so many times. Amazing supporting cast here, all around. Big fan of the Jessica. Mr. Terrific, though.
Well, I wanted to ask,
Mr. Terrific.
So I would like to ask you, since you're not like the huge comic person here, what is Mr. Terrific's powers?
I don't know. I'm looking him up right now because I was like gonna ask y'all, what is his deal?
So I that was one little thing that kind of
He felt like Iron Man a
He
little
has
bit.
balls.
No, yeah, so
He's smart.
he is like the easiest character to explain. He is the literal third smartest man on the planet, and he's created these things called T-spheres that can kind of like do almost anything.
Circles?
Yeah.
Whatever the story needs him to do.
Yeah. Like they kind of do, and like he's like an Olympic level athlete. That's
Okay.
it. And like he's really easy to explain. They could have said that real quick in the movie. They did not.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not upset about it. Like, I'll just buy in. You show me a superhero.
Yeah.
And he was awesome. So great.
He's a good leader too. He has a lot of leadership skills. He's the leader of the Terrifics, which is a comic. The Justice Gang may end up being the Terrifics.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
He takes over the Watchtower for Martian Manhunter.
Well, they
sometime.
also set up the Justice Gang could also one day become the Justice League. 'Cause they've even got the traditional goofy-looking Hall of Justice building. That
It's
looks
not
like
goofy. It is majestic.
Yes, definitely.
I'll
Take
say
that back.
Anthony Kerrigan, name I cannot remember.
Metamorpho.
Yeah, Bony Boy, whatever, Rock Boy. He was great. I liked him.
Yeah.
He never disappoints. He is so fun. He's a great character actor.
Oh, incredible! And he doesn't say a lot in this movie either. But man, just the
He's gonna be
gravitas.
he's gonna be the big bad in this next season of Twisted Metal. I'm the other guy watching that show.
Oh, wait, is he really?
Yeah.
Calypso.
Calypso.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Did you watch that show?
I didn't finish the first season.
I have no one to talk to this show about.
I watched half of it and I fell off because I was like, when do we get to Twisted Metal? I'm halfway through and we still haven't made it to the tournament. And I found out you don't actually get to the tournament in the first season anyway. Back to Superman. Did you guys? What did you guys think of the rest of the supporting cast? There's so many characters to name. I mean, were you guys a big fan of the Justice Gang? Was that a value add to get characters? I've got Hawk Girl in there as well.
Once again, I like Hawk Girl. I don't think they explained her enough. She's a Theridageran warrior from another planet. She's got wings. Her mace is made out of nth metal that disrupts magic.
She can fly. That's all you need to know.
Bingo. She's got a mace. She can fly.
Yeah.
Done.
I think they did a great job of balancing this enormous cast, which is again one of my concerns going in because I was thinking of like Spider-Man 3 when there was just like so many characters and they were not treated well.
The marketing, the number of characters they were showing in the marketing, I was like, I was pretty concerned. Yeah.
Selling some toys.
Well, you know, one thing I love about this cast is when you make a Superman movie and you show the rest of the people who work at the Daily Planet, no one says, oh, there's too much going on because these are Clark's peers. He's at work. And when Clark is when he's Superman, his peers are Mr. Terrific and Green Lantern and Hawkman. Stopping a giant kaiju is just another day in the office. So, they can do all these things, but James Gunn leans into the silliness and the tone of it, and he just makes it work. And everyone was awesome. Everybody got their own screen time, got to do a cool thing. And there were some people from the Daily Planet who I felt like were shelved a little bit.
Well, that was my one. I actually would have liked to have seen a little more of the Daily Planet cast. I mean, Jimmy Olsen, him being the Office,
him being the hottest man on the planet, apparently.
Did not see that coming. I love that. He's so Joe. I mean, you've seen him. He's usually like the dweeb in the Office. Everyone picks on, and they made him a ladies' man.
Pal, Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah,
he's typically like a teenager up there taking photos.
Yeah,
or college. Would you say like a freshman in college?
Intern.
Lois and Clark are 30, eternally 30, and Jimmy's usually maybe 16 to 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
But no, I thought the Daily Planet cast was great. We had Wendell Pierce as Perry White. Would have loved to have seen more of him.
We could have used less of Steve Lombard and, to be honest, Cat Grant, and more of Wendell Pierce.
I agree.
But I say about everything Wendell Pierce is in. Usually more Wendell Pierce.
Well, I think in our sequel, and I'm confident we'll get one, I think James had to do all the Justice Gang stuff to set up what this world is like full of heroes.
Yeah.
Hopefully in 2 and Superman, let's pray we get a trilogy. In Superman 2 and 3, it'll be more focused on Clark's immediate, friends and colleagues.
And he'll fight.
I'm not. I will say I'm. I'm not holding my breath on the sequel. We're gonna get a sequel. I'm not saying that, but like the way James Gunn's doing this whole universe is a lot different than Marvel. Like Marvel, they would just start like announcing stuff before they even had a script idea. He's like, I'm not making a movie until I have a script I'm happy with.
And they were like, Clayface.
You're like, what? And he's literally like, well, what's his? God, I wish we
Mike
had the guy's name.
Flanagan?
Mike Flanagan. Thank you.
Yeah,
Well, I love.
will see the heck
I love
out
he-
of that.
Oh, absolutely. He's like, well, Mike Flanagan's show had an amazing script, so we greenlit it, gave him like $50 million. Love it
Which everyone should do for Mike Flanagan all the time.
all the time.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So good.
Has anyone seen Life of Chuck
Life
yet?
of Chuck, yeah, it was
Not
good.
yet.
I like
haven't
it.
seen
It's not my favorite thing he's done, but I did like it. Yeah. Anyway, I say it to say we're probably almost certainly going to get a Superman sequel, but it's not like, hey guys, it did really good at the box office. We got one coming in 2 years. Like, I just don't think it's going to work like that. I think he's taking his time and
They feel like they're being very intentional and not rushed, which I do like.
that's good because that's what's been biting Marvel in the ass for the last like 5 years.
But I will say there is something about like the early MCU, which was always building to something. It always kept you intrigued. I mean, you have first Iron Man intrigued you of the Avengers.
But I don't want them to do what I actually don't want them to do what Marvel did. I want them to do their own thing.
Yeah, I just love that intrigue. I love just a little bit of something, Maybe a Vandal Savage.
I think maybe like the we're gonna get Justice League movies. He said that's a goal, and I hope they do a better job of each individual hero's film, explore different genres, do different things. Let the Justice League films be the connective tissue where it's like, oh, I know Flash because he has not Flash. I know Superman. He has his own movie. I watch Creature Commandos. I know who Rick Flag is.
Yeah.
But when they come together in Justice League, those Justice League films,
is that Peacemaker making a great cameo? Well timed, hilarious cameo. Yes, it is.
I cannot wait for the new season of Peacemaker, though.
Yeah.
Apparently, there's gonna be a new dance to open. I'm very
very exciting. I don't know. Anyway, there's a lot going on here. The movie drops us in, and it seems like all of us are on board with the whole just drop us in. Joe, I really appreciate you saying all this. Like, we don't need to know explanation because I'm in the same boat. I was like, you don't need to give. At this point, we have been living in superhero reality at the movies for 15 years.
So long.
We don't need explanations.
Not long enough. It's also been more than 15 years.
The MCU is 08. So what's that? So
almost 20 years.
17.
17.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying there weren't superhero movies before that, but I'm just saying in terms of like us being inundated with nonstop superhero movies, people know how this stuff works now. We don't need to explain every character's backstory. We don't need another Superman origin story. We don't need a Green Lantern origin story. Like,
you didn't want like just some like smash cuts for like when the Justice Gang showed up of like all their parents dying at random times.
Oh my God. Well, anything else you guys want to say about how the film drops us in? We have a very robust cast because the other topic's going to be a little heavier, and we got.
I think the in media res part about it was pretty great. Like I think we were like, oh, we're going, we're getting
it feels
started
like a
here.
Sequel, right?
Yeah,
like, it feels like there's so much stuff happening. It hits the ground running like a sequel typically does.
Mm-hmm. But I think it was fun. I think it added some energy to the movie that you weren't expecting.
Mm-hmm.
So being dropped into the action the way we were is one of my two critiques of the film, actually.
Oh, you don't like that?
I don't. Let me explain why.
Okay.
So the other one was I hate all Superman evil clone stories. I hate them. Do not like them. So Lex made a clone. Okay, I don't.
It's an aside.
It wasn't enough to take me out of it. Like that.
Clone has even curlier hair.
It didn't ruin the movie for me. I'm just not a fan.
Think about it this way: two David Corn sweats for the price of one.
True, but I'm just not a Superman clone fan.
Sure, I get you.
But the thing I didn't like about it is that some parts of the film was well paced, but sometimes it's like, bam, now we're doing this, now we're doing this, now we're doing that, and sometimes I feel like we would slow down and let things breathe a little bit. In films and visual media, so you're supposed to show, don't tell. I keep hearing about Superman stopping wars and doing stuff with Bravia, and I get why Gunn opened the movie the way he did, but a piece of me wishes we had 10 to 15, maybe 10 minutes to start the film, because one of the critiques the kids had was like, man, he kept getting beat up. He was getting beat up, and I was like, well, we saw Batman get his back broken, but you would say that he's too invincible if he didn't get beat up. But I think they needed to see him being super heroic and doing something like saving people in Bravia.
I mean, we see him do that. I mean, he saves when the kaiju attacks.
No, sure. Yeah. Well, so what I'm saying is okay, so show don't tell, right? We keep hearing about what he did, but why was it so important? It feels like a sequel to me and then Gunn setting up the public backlash. The public backlash was the thing that kills me because you just look up on the screen, it's like, we hate Superman now. And everyone's throwing stuff at him like he hasn't saved their lives a million times. And I just wish, a little time in there to breathe.
This is a great segue to what I want to talk about next,
Okay.
is the timeliness. What do you mean people can do a lifetime of good and all of a sudden the entire internet turns on them and calls them, like that one guy who's like, I've been a lifelong Superman fan, and all of a sudden he can go burn hell. I was like, holy cow, dude, that's like intense. Because that's kind of the world. I mean, we do kind of live in that world right now, a little bit, like where, and frankly, I mean, well, James Gunn can probably relate to that feeling.
Yep.
Oh, it's somebody. Yeah, he had the whole world turn on him
Yeah.
at one point. Yeah.
So I want to shift gears and talk a little bit more about what is this film saying about the world we live in today? Because despite it having a very upbeat tone, optimistic outlook, this movie is talking about a whole lot of stuff. Now, it's doing so in rapid succession a lot of the times, but I think it's hitting on a lot of really powerful ideas that are of the moment. Again, near the beginning of the movie, Lois interviews Superman / Clark, asking him tough questions about his intentions and the fallout of his actions in Baravia, specifically. So I just want to turn to you guys. I mean, like, how do you think this interview sort of serves as a way to answer fundamental audience questions about the relevance of Superman in 2025? That's how I felt. I was like, Lois is asking the questions that a lot of people probably have about Superman.
I think it kind of goes into our kind of desire for quick fixes when the world it's not a quick fix. I think Superman's like, I stopped it. It's like, yeah, but you caused like all this domino effect of other things that create more issues. And so I think it's really hitting on that, because I think that's what sometimes is what the inspiration of Superman is like. If you're just strong enough and do the right thing, it can make it okay. But unfortunately, the world's more complicated than that. But I think it also, the movies shows you that, like, it's not just being strong enough, it's also kind of like inspiring other people, and really it's the changing of hearts and minds.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you actually make a better way of it. So I think I think Superman's kind of, I think there's a little bit of an arc of that of him in the movie too, of realizing it's more than just punching.
Mm-hmm. Joe, what was your take on the interview and sort of how it's representing a lot of questions maybe audience has about Superman?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I have anything else other than things aren't black and white, and they made that clear in that conversation. And what you mentioned earlier about Lois being a stand-in for the audience, she does that in a couple different ways, I think, in that scene. She also is like a professional. So she's like, I'm a journalist, I can't just agree with you. And I really like that she had that conflict with him in that scene. But yeah, I think it was to serve as some backstory that we hadn't gotten before, a little bit of context, and just, to establish like it's not easy anymore.
Maybe a follow-up question. Do we think that the film provides satisfying answers to the open questions about Superman's roles and trying to resolve conflicts with a punch?
I think the theme of the film kind of tries to answer it, of like, you just got to kind of have to, like, just because everything's tough and like it's dark, you still have to try to be the best person you could be, sort of thing.
Yeah. Korey, any thoughts on that?
Caleb, it just goes to show you that, although Clark loves journalism, I think he might love being a Superman a little bit more. And Lois doesn't have that. Journalism is her life.
That's her superpower.
It is her superpower. And I think that that conversation that they had really showcases that in their characters. And I think that in terms of answering the questions, like you said, the movie's themes try to, but Lois is more, she's portrayed as being cynical, but she's more so really practical, because it's easy to say, I stand for, doing the right thing and helping people. And then an audience can accept that. But if you remove those two countries' fictional names and put real countries' names in their places, what is the right thing and what isn't changes for a lot of people in the real world. and you can't just say, "Oh, I was just doing what I thought I was doing."
Well, even his methods. I put him on a cactus. Oh, so you tortured him?
Yeah.
Because that would be the argument.
Tiny needles. No, like I remember, I'm not gonna. I'll use kind of vague terms here, but I had a discussion with a prominent politician one time saying, why are we helping this group? Like everything says we should help them, and he said, well, it's because this other group doesn't like them, and while they're not the best, they're like strategic, and we have to keep them as an ally. And it's kind of like my brain wanted like that easy answer, and it's it's not.
That's what gets complicated, though.
Yeah.
Because we have to have them as an ally, but if their actions don't reflect your values, are they allies worth keeping, even if it's an allyship nonetheless?
Which was my follow up, and then he went to go over like all the things if like that could all the terrible things that could happen if we lost them as an ally. It was an interesting because I didn't understand kind of like the geographics of that region as much as I thought I did.
Yeah. Well, I know. I guess just to kind of sum up my thoughts here, I don't think the film actually has a satisfying answer to those questions other than Alex, you've already stated it. I think what we're meant to take is the world is a lot more complicated, but if we all just try to be a better person, if we're able to, as you said, if we're all able to work towards a common goal of the betterment of each other, we can hopefully avoid such conflicts, because the movie also goes out of its way to show you that the president of Baravia does not have good intentions. They were not trustworthy intentions.
Yeah.
And because of that, Superman felt at odds. I am a Superman who wants to save lives. You're a world leader who wants to take land.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't seem to have any intention of saving or protecting lives. But the movie doesn't have here's the easy fix.
Yeah.
To bring peace to that region.
I think that's kind of, unfortunately, that's like the way the world is. As that interesting conflict, which was something that happened. It was like a conflict that was going on like 15 years ago. But yeah, it's just unfortunately there is, man. I think there's a desire in all of us to have quick and easy fixes.
Right. But the answer, the movie I think is saying it's not necessarily about having the specific answers. It's about, again, having the good intentions, putting people first should be the goal. I think that's how.
There's always gonna be bad stuff out there. You just have to try. You have to try your best to be a good person to those around you,
and that means having a benefit, giving other people the benefit of the doubt. Even. Well, let's. How about this?
Another I think benefit of the doubt. That was kind of like with Superman, like with the kaiju. He was like, we didn't have to kill it. We could have found a place to put it. Like just because it's caused damage and havoc here doesn't mean that we had to put it down,
Well, and the Superman, this version, the sanctity of life, is unmatched. There's a scene where he saves a squirrel.
Which I loved.
Oh, it was incredible. I loved it. I guess I missed it the first time. The second time I was like, oh my God, he just saved a squirrel.
I clutched my pearls.
I think that squirrel's going to become Chip later on. Oh, that's the squirrel Green Lantern.
Oh boy. Yeah. The setup.
Are you for real?
Yeah. Chip.
Oh
you can
my
type
God.
in CH''P Chip.
Okay.
He died.
Aw.
Somebody stepped on him.
Oh no.
Aw.
Yeah, it was a real
You just ruined the moment we were talking about how he saved the squirrel. Now you're like, the squirrel's dead. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Alex.
This was a lantern.
It's a circle of life.
The circle of life.
How about this? Lex Luthor, a tech billionaire obsessed with his public image, builds a plan largely predicated on his ability to exploit the footage from the Fortress of Solitude to turn people against Superman.
Where do they come up with these ideas?
I don't know. Yes, there are physical confrontations, but I think it goes without saying, like, the battle between Lex Luthor and Superman is a battle for in the court of public opinion. Which person is the person I want to follow. And I think it's really interesting, too, that Lex Luthor is surrounded by a bunch of largely really young people who think he's cool shit. Like, there's like kids with braces. There's some older, like there's some more like adult people,
Otis.
But it's overwhelmingly like people probably under the age of 25. So anyway, how does James Gunn sort of use like today's media sensibilities, something like social media, cable news, and just sort of like this obsession with appearances to demonstrate the fragility of truth in our current society?
Well, first off, I don't know if you guys saw recently, someone got a picture of Jeff Bezos, and Jeff Bezos has grown out the hair on the side of his head. Clearly someone's like, you look too much like Luthor. You got to grow that out.
Well, Amazon's sponsoring some of these screenings. You got to
we don't want to get those comparisons going on. I mean, I think it's really interesting because I think like how would you take out a Kryptonian? Like, it has to be through public opinion. That's the easiest way to fight Superman because that's where he's weakest. Like, they even
Well, no, it's his weakest because he wants to be a good person.
Yeah, he won't hit back. He won't hit back in public opinion. He's not gonna like trash somebody. I think that's the way if you're gonna take him down, Lex can't take him down one-on-one. But if you can turn the entire planet against him, then he has a shot. It actually makes perfect. It's a really good evil plan.
Right. Well, and it's not new. Again, what I find interesting is this is a classic Lex Luthor scheme, but seeing it set in like a version of our world where we have all these
with
new
monkeys.
media tools with monkeys typing tweets into Twitter.
Amazing.
I don't know, Joe. What did you think about how the film utilizes a lot of the current media sensibilities?
I mean, I think it does it really well. It can, again, feel so cheesy and out of place in a lot of films, but it just felt so natural here, and it was like just enough. And I think we're like primed now for social media to just be in film. Interesting thing that I just thought of too, as you brought up like all those young people, like their fight against him is also gamified, which I think is so interesting. Like they're just playing a game. So and I feel like that's the way a lot of people approach like interacting with each other now, whether it's on like social media, like it's not a real person. So I think that was really smart too.
That is interesting because like them fighting Superman's literally like a video
1A,
game.
1A, 1A, yeah.
Which is how like our war is done now with drones and stuff.
Yeah, so it's like there's that level of separation. Yeah, that doesn't make it as serious, quote unquote. But it is.
I hadn't thought about that. Korey, what's your take here?
Man, when David Corenswet was talking about the decision for Superman to wear trunks in the first place, he says it because, he's this powerful alien that people are scared of, and that he wants to look a little silly so people know that despite how powerful he is, he doesn't take himself too seriously, and he doesn't scare people. So in my opinion, in my head canon, I feel like this Superman cares deeply about what people think of him. He wants people to think highly of them. He goes out of his way to ask if people are doing all right. Is everyone okay? He wants to make sure they're okay, but he also, and this is my opinion, wants them to know that he cares. And he wants that relationship. He wants to feel like a part of them. So, Gunn making his comparison about online trolls with the monkeys, it's just hilarious because a lot of these people are mindless and they're just following, they're following trends or, following, a wave that's coming along.
Or they might even not be real people. They might just be bots that are just typing nonsense into the Twitter.
Exactly. Searching up words and phrases and replying to them. It's a little on the nose considering what James Gunn has gone through himself personally.
Yeah, there's a very strong auteur reading to this movie, honestly.
Yeah, and seeing it, we have politicians who beef on the internet, and so I think it's very funny that James Gunn would have his billionaire villain utilize that, and news stations who people get all their information from one news station the news media is very blatantly, showing us one thing. It's very on the nose.
I did love how with the news media in particular, the headlines on the TV were just so dumb. But that's how it basically is on today. You're like, it was Justice Gang killed thing.
Yeah.
Superman traitor.
Yeah, I get all my news from Cinematropolis.
Oh, thank you. Flattered.
But if you look at the the hero's journey, we skipped the beginning parts. Everyone knows it, but Superman kind of crosses that threshold when he stops to war in Baravia, and now he's going. It opens up with his trials and failures, and the failures is losing, getting beat up, but the trials I feel like is an emotional trial from the public.
Yeah, and I love this because, like I said, I don't think that there's ever been a great Lex Luthor story told on the screen in terms of like how he combats Superman, and I think what we get here really speaks to like the core Superman. If Superman's goal is to inspire people to be their best selves, he kind of has to care a little bit about what people think.
Yeah.
Because if no one likes him, he can't inspire anybody. So
and at the beginning, remember, he's like worked on like
sound bites.
Yeah, he's worked on sound bites and things like that.
Superman doesn't do social or whatever it was.
Selfies.
Selfies.
Yeah, but and it makes sense because I mean he is like a reporter, like he has some understanding of that, you know.
Yeah, I thought it was I think to your point, Korey, though, this is sort of like second act stuff. He's like, all right, so how do I actually live my truth in a world that is sort of built to tear me down a little bit? You know, how do I exist in this world where my parents tell me I'm supposed to be one thing, I believe I'm this other thing, and now the whole world, you know, largely driven by this billionaire's personal vendetta against me, tells me that I'm a bad guy, even though I've only tried to save people. Like, how do I stick to my truth there? I also found, I mean, this is we'll get to the kind of the last topic here, you know, getting to that Warren Bravia thing, but like, there's just a lot of really crazy imagery that's with everything that's going on in the world right now. It seems incredibly bold. I mean, he literally turns himself in and gets like thrown to the ground. The dudes looking like the guys arresting him look like ICE agents. It's like, I don't know.
He's zip tied, isn't he?
Yes.
Yep.
And it just feels unbelievable that someone at Warner Brothers signed off on this movie.
Yo, can I spill some tea? Real
Yeah.
quick?
Oh yeah.
A year or two ago, sometime in 2023, I'm hearing rumors about this film. Now, I'm pretty plugged in. I'm on all the socials, you know, and my feed is a lot of superheroes. So I just get this stuff. Someone told me, and I'll say the names. I don't mean to offend anyone, but someone told me that James Gunn, even though he is the head of DC Studios, someone above him in Warner Brothers, read the script and said, this is a little too on the nose with Israel-Palestine. You need to chop some of this off. And so I have a theory. I could be wrong. I think this is a conspiracy theory. I think there's a cut of this of a script, at least. I'm not saying there's an actual.
I'm going to lean towards maybe a version of the script.
Yeah, a version of the script, not a film. I don't think they filmed it, but I think there's a cut of the script somewhere where we actually see Superman pull up to the Baravian conflict, and then somebody was like, Superman shouldn't take sides because then you're asking him what he would do in Israel-Palestine, and we don't want to answer that question.
I think the movie does answer that question, though. He says, I don't want people to die. That's the answer. You know?
That can mean a lot of things. But when you actually show it, it you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It gets a little sticky. So
well, I mean, yeah. Let's talk about that though. So the Warren Bravia, very, in my opinion, thinly veiled, you know, Palestine-Israel conflict.
I think you even say there's some. I mean, there's some, you know, Ukraine, Russia.
Yeah, that's also there, especially with the way they paint the president of Bravia has a little bit of the Putinism. He's literally sitting on a horse in a painting.
Yeah. So, I kind of I would not be surprised if they tone parts of that down. I can see David Zaslav maybe not being wanting to go into that. I also don't think I think there are probably better movies to comment on such a tragic and complicated issue than a Superman film.
Right.
To do it directly instead of kind of more opaquely like this film does, what I think it did very well.
Yeah. It's threading
I think it threaded the needle, but I think it threaded it very well.
Question: are those countries that are established in the universe?
They're new.
Okay.
Technically, yeah, they're not, because the main ones in DC are, well, there's Corto Maltese, and then there's Black Adam's country.
Well, they're not new. Everything that's happening now is in Creature Commandos.
They're new.
Okay, well, new to the DCU, like the
gotcha,
DC.
yeah,
So it's still a new country.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was like invented for just this movie.
Yeah.
Those are real countries.
Oh my gosh.
Well, no, I mean, I guess what is your read on what the film's saying about war and the role Superman plays in solving for these? Because I'm thinking, like, you know, this is also not new. Whether it's Ukraine, Russia, whether it's Palestine, Israel, Superman has fought Nazis. He's fought Russians in the Cold War, intervening in Vietnam. He, as a cultural icon, exactly. As a cultural icon, he has been used to represent morality in so many different conflicts. What I find most interesting about this is not necessarily who those two countries are supposed to represent. It's more that, well, that's not totally true. It's more that he's not aligned with the U.S. Baravia is the U.S. ally who he actively kind of picks a fight with, which kind of, for me, sort of breaks that truth, justice, in the American way. Basically, he's saying, I don't represent America. I represent myself and saving people.
Yeah.
Those are the two most important things.
Represents a better tomorrow.
Which sort of implies that America is not about those things, at least in the context of this movie. That's the part that I find kind of interesting. Now, is this movie a searing criticism of America as it is? No, not at all. If anything, it's government criticism of government bureaucracy in America.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think that it does sort of implicate the U.S. as sort of, at the very least, turning a blind eye to countries wreaking havoc on other countries, for sure.
Which I think is also something that like is part of a discussion in Captain America: Civil War.
Yes.
Where it's like, so we want to intervene where we think we're needed, not like when people tell us to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that there's a couple of Superman comics where he stopped like a conflict, and someone's like, "Well, there's other conflicts going on. Why weren't you there? Why weren't you at this one? Like, where does it stop? Why did you intervene here, not there?" And so there are some comics that have kind of gone over like, do you just end war, or do you stop every single one, like, sort of thing, which creates more complications for the character over time.
Mm-hmm. Joe, as a non-comic book fan or reader here in this, non-comic reader in this scenario, what is your read on what the film is saying about Superman's role in war?
I think that one thing I found myself pondering as I was watching the movie, which I haven't ever thought about in a Superman before, and this might be because of The Boys, but I was like, man, it's really good that he's a good guy, because he could be doing whatever he wanted.
Mhm.
And it just so happened that he is mostly on, our side, or the side of good. So I really think that the fact that they posed these questions led me there. And it's more interesting to me to see that kind of character than just like, even though I love Superman, just like the everyday Superman. It was really interesting to me to have that thought come into my head.
Mm-hmm. Like, what if he was actually like, The Boys, Homelander, or All Might, or not All Might, that's anime. What's his name? From Omni-Man, thank you. And Invincible,
It's, as I think I've someone said this before, but like Superman is a better person than he is strong.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, that's right. Well, any other thoughts on how Superman intervenes in the conflict? It sounds like Korey wanted a little more of the action that we don't see on screen, which is understandable.
I think you're right. It would have made it a little more visceral of seeing him actually intervene at the beginning. I now that I think about that more, I think you might be right that it would have added more gravitas to it to see like the impact of him intervening, and then maybe like the news reports on his intervention and how that would split people's opinions and things like that.
You show him doing it, and then immediately the online backlash. So that online stuff kind of builds up to where they turn on him. It's like, oh, well, he's been doing all this stuff. So
I think you're right. That could have added a little bit extra there. At the very, 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 although the opening is so powerful with him just like,
I know.
It's done well.
That's why I'm saying that's why I'm kind of like, for me, the trade-off is better that we don't see that, because we start the story right where it starts. But I do understand that it feels like, that would have been helpful to see to kind of better set things up. Well, with that in mind, though, these are obviously, we've talked about a lot of different things that are timely. War, use of technology to destroy humanity. What do you guys think about how neatly and quickly the movie sort of wraps up the story? Because it wraps up pretty dang fast. It's like, oh, we beat Luthor. All right, bad guys get locked up. Belle Reeve for Luthor. Wars are over. What do you guys think about that? Joe, I'll start with you on this one.
I was not upset about it. In my Letterboxd review, I was specifically moved by the ending. Like, I felt there's that moment where Lex Luthor starts crying, and I felt so emotional, and it rack focuses to Superman in the background, and I'm like, this is gonna be in an Oscar montage someday. Like, it felt like that level of like, this is history almost that we're watching.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like the emotional beats landed so hard for me that I didn't mind that everything else was just like, all right, we're done.
Yeah.
So I was happy with. I mean, I was happy with the pacing overall in the film. So I'm not upset at it.
I'd agree with you. I think the ending is a little short, but it still sticks that landing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It goes fast, as a lot of superhero movies do, frankly.
Yeah.
Corey?
I feel like James didn't want to beat you over the head or overstay his welcome, and he wanted to tell his story. You know, this story, I think this movie's gonna have legs, but I think it's gonna do really well on streaming.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this is the kind of film that you can just kind of put on while things are going on in the background, and you can still enjoy it a little bit. Like, again, Man of Steel is kind of operatic. You kind of gotta like focus a little bit more on these themes, but Superman is just fun, so you can just kind of we're in and out.
Yeah.
And but it's not fast food per se. Like you're still getting a good meal with this movie.
Yeah.
It's like a Shake Shack, but it's not a McDonald's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
There
they
you
took a
go.
little time on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is a little oversimplified, but it works overall. Because again, it's more about the meat of the story. It's funny. You said it's an Oscar montage. I said I don't think it's going to win any Oscars, even though
No, I just mean like.
But it's that level of like
Yeah.
emotionality.
I mean, I thought of like Gene Hackman, and I remember seeing like clips of that Superman and things, and I was like, this is the new thing that we're seeing now unfolding in front of our eyes.
100%.
Almost.
Yeah, like the new iconography.
Yeah.
Like the close-ups of like Lex's face in agony.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really
It's
really
so good.
powerful. It's really powerful.
And here's the thing I will say, and I want to give huge kudos, regardless of how fast it wraps up or how like murky the answers or solutions it provides are. I really appreciate that this movie does have a clear perspective on the things it's talking about, even if it doesn't have answers. Because one of my biggest critiques of the entire MCU, in several instances in the MCU, they bring up a lot of timely stuff that they do absolutely nothing with. It's like, hey, yeah, this exists. Okay, well, what do you think about that? Well, we're not going to weigh in on that because people, like it just doesn't have a clear point of view on like Nazis infiltrating the highest level of government, for example, AI, evolution of AI. It just doesn't commit to a point of view.
Can I say something that might send us off on a whole new tangent?
Yes.
My husband and I tried to watch Brave New World, and that is like the opposite of this movie in every way.
It's
In terms
bad.
of like, I didn't watch the TV show, so I have no idea what's going on. It does try to drop you in. I'm confused.
Yeah.
Who are these people? It's so boring. We stopped it at like an hour in because we had to. We had to go to bed, and both of us were like, "Oh no," because there's a whole other hour. And yeah, they don't say the president is the bad guy, and they don't say anything about. They don't take a stance on anything in that film.
Right. That's my point. Like, it's like the president's the bad guy.
It's fine.
So what is the take on that? Oh, there's not one. Like
Yeah.
that's the thing. They never commit to a point of view.
Yeah.
That movie had a pretty troubled production. They had
Yeah.
to do extensive reshoots.
Like
Usually-
$100 million.
Yeah, when you start hearing that, that's usually not a combination for winning. I don't think they knew what they wanted that movie. Nobody knew what they wanted that movie to be, and you
Yeah.
can tell it while watching, which I hate because I love Anthony Mackie. I love that guy. I always watch him. Anything. He's so charismatic.
Yeah.
I also listen. I'm glad you have a new Falcon with him, but like that movie also came alive when Bucky showed up and they were interacting, and I was like, that's what I want.
I mean, for the one scene that Bucky shows up.
Yeah, and I was like, here we go. Let's just have these guys hang out.
Yeah.
Listen, I guess my point is I find that one of my biggest problems with the MCU now, especially now that we've had it's been around for so long and I can get some perspective on it, is it does not have a clear point of view on the subjects that it like raises.
Which, to be honest, like Falcon and Winter Soldier was another movie another show that really didn't.
No,
Well,
it brings
what it's
that's the,
doing.
it raises a bunch of this is very similar to a thing in the real world that we can okay. Well, so was it?
Displaced populations. Yeah. And it really did not do much.
I mean, even Secret Invasion was another one. It's
Let's not talk about Secret
Yeah.
Invasion.
it's not just, but it's not even
Do you want to
best.
see Samuel L. Jackson, but boring?
But I guess my point is even like somehow and Ben Mendelsohn being boring. How does that happen?
Is he in the show?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, two of
I
the most
saw the-
charismatic people you've ever met.
Also, they kill him in the show, so he's
They
not coming back.
do?
Yeah,
I'm not watching.
And they also kill off
Kobe Smulders.
Kobe Smulders. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm
Secret
glad I
Invasion's
didn't
trash.
But I did watch what is that? Captain. Who is she? Brie Larson.
Oh,
Captain
Marvel.
The
Yeah,
Marvels?
I saw her. I saw that movie for Ben Mendelsohn,
Oh yeah,
but
yeah.
also not good.
No. Um, long way of saying, I don't feel like even the best Marvel movies commit to a point of view on these things. Whereas with this movie, and maybe this is a fluke because James Gunn just was able to come in with a very strong vision and perspective. And I really hope the follow-ups similarly have a clear point of view from those directors. But that's a huge feature for me that I think sets it apart from Marvel big time.
Can I just say, I know you didn't say all, but again, I hate to bring up Captain America again, but Captain America is that one Marvel film where it's like, no, Nazis are bad. I don't like Nazis. I'm going to fight them and I'm going to stop them. And because it's the right thing to do.
You know who also fights Nazis? G.I. Robot. Have you not watched Creature Commandos?
No, I've not yet.
There's a robot called G.I. Robot, and all he talks about is killing Nazis and when does he get to kill Nazis and are there any Nazis he's going to kill?
Is that recent?
Yeah, it's a cartoon. Yeah. It's great.
It's animated. It's on
But it's
X.
like in the last few years.
It came out like last year.
Okay.
It's actually the one DCU project that came out before this. So if you want to watch more from this universe, you can go watch that cartoon.
And that animated universe, after seeing Superman, that animated universe feels like this live action. It's the same thing. It meshes very well. Yeah.
Cool.
On the note of go watch Creature Commandos, I think we got to call it, guys.
Well, I want to say one thing real quick because I'm thinking more because we're talking about like they weren't super specific on like the countries and the conflicts are going in. Yeah. I now I'm thinking more about like my nephew. I do think that it does give him, I think, because it's a little less complicated, I think it does make it easier for kids to understand the theming of that, which I think is even more important.
I agree.
Because, really kids are very impressionable. And so I think, good messages of right and wrong and things like that, for them to understand, especially with big, strong themes like this film had, I think there is a benefit that lack of specificity creates.
No, I agree, because I think at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what country you insert, whatever country, a real world conflict, there's always going to be complicated things with any conflict. And the movie is saying, yeah, but that doesn't matter. Did people die?
Yeah.
Did we try to stop it from happening?
Yeah.
And I think that's really what the theme of the movie is espousing. Like,
war is over if you want it. That's a quote from John Lennon, guys.
Well, you have any other closing thoughts on Superman before we wrap up? Anyone?
I'm just ready to see more of this. I'm ready for the sequel now.
You might be waiting for a while.
I know.
I mean, I'm excited too. I'm excited to see more Superman. I'm excited to see the movie a third time on the IMAX.
What villain do you want to see in this sequel?
We still haven't gotten a good Brainiac. I don't know how you do Brainiac, but we still haven't gotten a good Brainiac movie that would be kind of interesting. And especially as you think about in the context of like all the technology, technocrats who are trying to take over the planet.
Lex.
Well, yeah. Well, Lex Luthor, that's the thing. Lex Luthor, if you're doing Lex Luthor right, he is either responsible for creating everything that fights Superman, or he works with he works with the person fighting Superman.
90% of the time he's the problem, 10% of the time he's unfortunately the solution.
And when he is the solution, he's also still the problem.
He's kind of a dick about it.
Yeah. Okay, well, cool. Guys, it's been so much fun. Joe, Korey, Alex, thanks for joining us to talk all the Superman things. It's been a pleasure. Joe Light, where can people keep up with you and all your work online?
I'm writing for Final Draft right now a lot. Some on No Film School. I did a lot of Andor coverage that I'm very proud of. Watch Andor if you haven't, if you want some more like anti-fascist themes. I am on Letterboxd at, if I can think of my name, it's Jojo Binks 1.
Excellent. Check Joe out there. Korey, where can people find you online?
At Grand Gentleman on all socials.
Very cool.
We're trying our best to, be a good influence, spread some hope.
You guys are doing a great job. I'm just saying, it's super impressive that you got 60 tickets available for folks who might not have been able to afford a ticket. So kudos to you guys. Keep up the great work.
Appreciate it.
Alex Palmer, you're doing great work for our local film community here in Oklahoma.
I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best. So we're screening David Byrne's True Stories this Thursday at 7:00, which I'm really excited about. Next month, we will be showing a great Cassavetes film, which I am blanking on right now because we've been talking for too long, Faces. And then, so that'll be in that'll be the third, we always screen on the third Thursday. So it'll be third Thursday of August will be Faces. And then in September, third Thursday, we are looking to show Mysterious Skin.
Ooh, that's going to be a really
Or as I annoyingly call it to LaRon, covert epidermis. And LaRon's helping with that screening, then Kate Jones will be helping with the faces screening.
Oh, I love Kate.
Very cool. Lots of cool people working with lots of cool movies. Of course, you can find me over on all the social media channels at C Masters Talk. That's letter C Masters Talk, letterbox preferable, but I'm also on Instagram. Or you can just head on over to the cinematropolis.com to see all the cool things we're writing and talking about over there. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. We'll catch you again in 2 weeks when LaRon returns to us to review I Know What You Did Last Summer. Until next time.
Bye.